So, Nathan, my
You're
laptop is
live.
okay right now as far
Yeah,
as how
everything
I
was
have
good.
it.
Yeah, everything was good.
Okay.
Let's see. Yep, looks good.
Phil, who's the last interesting guest you had on your podcast?
I had a Catholic theologian who actually is the son of one of my best friends, who's well known, who's been interviewed a lot on the Pope versus Trump stuff, and he was pretty articulate about that. Um, who else did I have? I also had a pro-Trump pastor on, which is I was very hard to get because, as I'm sure you've noticed, they don't like to they don't like to appear on any media where they're not with a friendly group.
Right.
Like, for example, I've tried to get, who Aaron Bear is? He's the head of the big pro family group that used to be CCV.
Right.
Try to get him, try to get Rick Jones, can't get those guys to appear.
Well, hats off to the pastor who did it. I mean, I don't get these people who duck interviews or opportunities to talk about their convictions in other spaces. It's like, if you believe what you believe, stand on what you believe. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand like why you have such a difficult time going into
yeah,
tough places if you believe in your convictions and you got solid points and arguments.
yeah,
I don't understand it. I mean, it's
yeah.
like I don't have any problem going into the lion's den of people who disagree with me. In fact, you know,
It's a little more entertaining, a little more
yeah.
uh am I correct that the guy running against Massey has basically refused to give interviews? Is that correct? Is that your understanding?
I hadn't heard that. I don't. Yeah, it wouldn't
I thought
surprise me. I mean, you know,
I thought I read that in one of something either maybe in the Inquirer. So I thought I read that, uh, and or maybe one of the national pieces. And I can understand why, because the first question they're going to ask him is, "Well, would you have voted to release the Epstein files?" Okay, which is really the main issue where Massey disagreed with Trump, and this guy probably just didn't want to have to answer that kind of question.
yeah.
Plus the Iran, he probably didn't want to talk about that either. So I think they've pretty much kept him only at events, at the structured events.
Well, Trump has done such a good job of just villainizing the media and the people who support him. Um, just go along with that, and so it allows candidates like that to duck questions like that, which are legitimate questions. I mean, if you're a
Yeah,
candidate and you can't answer a question about where you stand on the current situation with Iran, then you don't deserve to be elected.
yeah, yeah. How do you? I mean, you probably have more access than I would. What do you think is going to happen in that race?
I think it's going to be close. I mean, Trump has spent a lot of, I mean, they spent a lot of money, have invested a lot in, trying to get Massey out of there. I think that if you believe the polls that came out, the latest polls that came out would show Massey kind of down a little bit.
Is that right?
Yeah, but I've also kind of heard that there are some other polls that showed Massey might be ahead, but I guess the pollsters didn't want to release the information or didn't want to be involved because Trump will sue him or probably something crazy about that if
Right,
they don't like the
right,
poll results he puts out there. So
right, right,
you know,
right. Well, Terrace, I hope you're going to be indicating on the show today how you'll be voting in the primary.
yeah, Nathan gonna have to unmute him.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I thought it was interesting that quite a few of the state and federal Kentucky officials, like Jay Williams, who I kind of know as a state senator, look at the, and Rand Paul, they all came after Massey, which, of course, it's easier to do that than be the guy running on a, opposing Trump as opposed to, but uh, obviously they think pretty highly of the guy.
Yeah, I've heard Ryan also doesn't have the greatest track record. Like they were saying, like sort of his past work history, he's pretty incompetent.
Yeah.
So, which
Right.
falls right in line with who Trump generally tends to try to bring into the fold.
Yeah. Right. Yep. It's all loyalists. All loyalists.
Oh yeah. Hey, listen. Be careful about how you talk about King Trump now. Be careful. You find yourself on the wrong side of things. I told you guys. This is the reality. It is what it is. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And to be honest with you, it don't end after the election. if you think that after this election, Trump is going to give up his influence, then you're not paying attention. And it just is what it is. So get in line, tuck your tail, and that's what it is. Welcome to the new America. And that's how things are these days. You was talking about they scared to put out a poll.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's very unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But you know what, Nathan? It's not because Trump is so great or so strong. It's just that we got a nation full of cowards is pretty much what it is. A nation full of cowards and a nation full of people who are willing to look the other way, as long as he's doing the things that they want him to do. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. Like I refuse to give Trump any great amount of credit, or he's not any kind of freaking genius or powerful dude. He's just been very successful in surrounding himself and establishing a government where you got cowards and sycophants who just let you do whatever you want to do. And that's what we got.
Hey, now you're starting to sound unpatriotic.
Yeah, we might want to talk a little bit.
Call it what you
as your friend, I caution you.
If truth is unpatriotic, then I'm guilty.
Truth is unpatriotic.
We might want to talk today a little bit about that government-sponsored prayer fest, which occurred Sunday. My understanding is it was federal money am I right, that paid for that thing?
Some of it, yes. To my understanding, some, yeah.
It's horrible.
You were asking me about Thomas Massey. Phil, I was muted, but over the weekend I went to see Thomas Massey, and he brought Balbert and another congressman out stomping with him. And there's a grassroots organization, and like all the people who were at the one who I was at were more of the people from the libertarian side of the Kentucky Republicans, and grassroots, and so if he gets past this Gallagher thing, I mean, they've spent a lot of money. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have spent $20 million just to try to unseat Thomas. And who votes? Thomas Massey votes for Trump 90% of the time.
91%.
90. So it's
if
like
you don't vote with him 100% of the time, Terrence, you're a traitor.
Exactly.
You're a traitor if you don't vote with Donald Trump 100% of the time. 90% is not good enough. There's a 100% loyalty test.
When they were the person, Rob Sanders, I'm sure he doesn't mind me mentioning this. He was introducing Thomas at this place. We were at Pee Wee's in the back room, secret, like a little meeting thing. And he read off this endorsement. And he said, do you know who this endorsement came from? Because he was talking about Thomas Massey. And it said Donald Trump. Donald Trump had previously endorsed Thomas Massey with some outstanding, doted, great, like some a bunch of accolades, and then took it back. So I mean, I voted. I know I voted for Thomas Massey, and I hope that a lot of other Kentuckians did the same.
Okay, but Terrence, here's what we want to know: you're the inside guy in Northern Kentucky politics. What's your prediction?
My prediction is Thomas Massey wins 14%. He's going to win by I think 12%. He's got 12% win over Gallagher. Gallagher, they spent a lot of money, and they're just like, okay, my example of the polls. Remember when right before the Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, the day before the election, when those polls came out from, I think it was Idaho or some kind of polls that they get just to try to galvanize people to go to get people to go vote. That's what they're trying to do with El Gallagher. But I do believe that Thomas Massey has too much of a hold in Boone County, and he'll win. He's got 35,000 votes right there, so I think he'll win by 12 points.
Hey, Damon, I just sent you the link. My bad on that. Hey, Damon, I just sent you the link. My bad on that. I thought I had sent to you already. Yeah, we'll see. My prediction is, what is my prediction? I predict that. What is my prediction?
Sounds like you're really pretty solid in your point of view.
Well, I just don't have enough information about his district. But from the outside looking in, let me put it this way: I wouldn't be surprised if Massey loses. Not one bit, because
Trump has won 90%.
Because Trump is the most powerful president that we've ever had in this country, and his followers, his hardcore followers, believe in him more now today than ever before. And he's got the billionaire class, so they have unlimited money, and this is the world that people decided they wanted. So this is where we are, and I keep telling people, I'm telling people now, figure it out. Figure out how you maneuver in this new society that we're moving into, because this is what it is. This is what it is. So, and the reality is people already know what it is because they do it on jobs every single day. People go on jobs, just regular jobs, and they keep their mouth closed. They look the other way, and they look after their own interests. Everybody does it. So now you're going to do it on a grander scale when it relates to your federal government. So it is what it is. Twin writes, he's not powerful. He's a gangster. I mean, yeah, hey.
I'd use mobster. Maybe.
Mobster, hey, y'all can call him what he wants.
He getting that paper.
But if he puts you in his crosshairs, it's going to be hard for you. And it don't matter who you are, anybody in this country. Billionaires too. Have you noticed how you don't see a lot of black wealthy people speaking out? Because they already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? They know what time it is, and they gonna do what they gotta do. They're gonna ride the roller coaster, keep their mouth closed, and get in where they fit in. Hey, what's up, Damon? Uh-oh.
We lost.
Something just happened.
Lost his visual.
Massey would win. Okay, hey. If I had to choose between the two, I don't know. I mean, I like anybody that's willing to stand up and stand on what they believe in, even if that means that they take a loss. So I respect that.
Ed Galleron, he has said he's going to rubber stamp and do whatever Trump says. I mean, that's just scary to me. Like if he's playing, what is going to happen as a voter in this district? What happens to when Trump is gone? That's why I couldn't do it. I'd rather go with somebody who I know is going to stand on principles and what's good for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Because if Rand Paul, the other senator, was coming out against him, was coming out against Thomas Massey, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to listen to him. But since he's stumping for Massey, I think he's going to get it. I think 12 points.
12 points? Wow, okay.
You know what's interesting is that Kentucky seems to be the one place in America where you've got two Republicans in Congress who are kind of willing to stand up against Trump. I don't know if you can say that about any other state in the country, that you have two members of Congress who at times, I'm not going to say again, both of them probably got 90% voting records, but even at 10% of the time that they don't vote.
You're talking about Mitch McConnell as an example?
No, I'm talking about Rand Paul and
I thought
Massey.
you said two senators.
No, I said two people in Congress.
Oh, okay.
Talking about him, Rand.
Right. No, I thought he was. I understand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No way. I put Turtleneck Mitch in that category. He's the worst of the bunch, if you ask me. Oh my
goodness, he's going to go down in history as the most decorated, longest termed, most influential senator to ever serve in the United States Senate.
Who put his party put his party before his country. That's what Mitch McConnell has done.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion, Phil. That's your opinion.
Well, the fact is, this guy could have ended if he had the guts to tell the Republicans to vote to convict him. Trump wouldn't be around now. Mitch McConnell is a weak, cowardly guy. And you know what really is the thing that's most pathetic about him is, I mean, okay, politically, he's intimidated by him. But Trump insulted his wife. Do you remember that? Called her, used some ethnic thing about his wife who's Asian. I mean, insulted, called her Coco something or other. And this weak man wouldn't even stand up for his own wife.
Oh,
Well,
hold
What
on,
kind of
Bill.
man? I mean, what kind of man? What kind of man is he
In
that
the same
he
token,
doesn't have the
he used
guts
Donald
to
Trump
stand
to
up for his
push
own
to
wife?
overturn Roe versus Wade. So you can say what you want about the man, but he used Donald Trump and manipulated Barack Obama and told him not to appoint a judge as a Supreme Court justice, so he could get Donald Trump to support to appoint a
I'm
Supreme
not
Court
saying
justice.
his, I'm not talking about his
That's
political
not an
skills.
accurate
I'm
portrayal
talking
of
about
what
his
happened.
morals,
That's not an
not his
accurate
values,
portrayal
not
of
his
what
political
happened.
Yes, it
skills.
is.
Hey, hold on, guys. Let's get started. Hey, Damon, can you hear us now?
I can hear you fine. You guys hear me?
Yep, sure can. All right, so I'm gonna
Amen.
officially start the show. I'll put everybody backstage. It's just a brief countdown with a little bit of music. Leave for a little bit, and all kind of things happen. Voting Rights Act gets struck down. All kinds of things going on. But glad to see everybody. Glad to see everybody. We got a new face with, well, not new to people in Cincinnati area, but new as a crew member. We got Damon Lynch the fourth. How you doing, Damon? Uh-oh. Looks like he's shaking his head. That's not a good shake. that's a technical difficulty shake of the head right there, for sure. But my brother in this endeavor, Kevin Aldridge, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Nathan. See, this is what happened when we not on post, man. When we not on post, all you know what breaks loose.
Yeah. Step away for a little while. Black people lose voting power in the South. We got Terrace Horton with us. What's up, Terrace?
Who lost the right to vote? That's what I want to know. Who lost the right to vote? Because from my vantage point, they just made it easier to decipher between foundational Black Americans and African immigrants that are coming over here who are acting. So we have completely different outlooks on what you think. I think it was good that they got rid of it, just like they did DEI. So who lost their right to vote? Show me who lost their right to vote. Give me one person, Black American, who lost their right to vote.
I love you, Paris. The number one person, the number two people that people ask me about is Terrace and Phil. And Terrace is by far number one.
Now wait a second.
I'm just being honest. He
No,
is.
no. Come on. That is a rigged.
And it usually goes something like this.
Don't tell me.
Hold on, let me hear it. Let me hear it.
Sounded like Trump.
no
He talking
way.
about rigged polls. Just accept it, man. Accept the fact that
I want to say something since you did,
Everybody's dropping.
Nathan.
I'm sorry, say it
have
again. Drop for a second.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
All right. I feel like I'm doing this show today with my hands tied behind my back.
Oh.
Okay. And let me explain.
Is that
one of
something
the
different?
things, if you don't mind, sir,
Go right
one of
ahead.
the things that means so much to me, I enjoy about the show, is mocking the leftist philosophy and obtuse point of view of Kevin Aldridge. Okay, I mean that's why I do this show. I mean it's what I live for. Okay,
Ow.
but here's the problem. Kevin did something very gracious to me, and I believe for the whole country during the break. And I'll explain really what it is if I can. My sister and I wrote a column in which we spoke out against these so-called anti-choking devices, which people are dying because they're using them instead of being trained in height maneuver. And Kevin was gracious enough to publish our column in the Inquirer, which then led to it being published in USA Today. So I feel like I'm kind of in debt to Kevin, and I'm just gonna have to overcome that and continue to, mock him as I usually do. I don't see any
Good
other choice.
journalism.
Phil knows what it is, Nathan. He knows that the call is coming when he's going to have to, pay up that debt. And I'm not going to call it in right now. I'm a patient man. I like to lay back in the cut and wait for the right time to call in a favor. So it's coming though.
Phil the hijacker came through and stole your thunder when you were about to say something, Nathan, when you were talking about
The hijacker. The hijacker.
The,
Is that like the
interrupter,
but a
the
stronger
interrupter, the
version?
great
Is that what that
interrupter.
is?
You were in a thought, and then he came in and took over again. So I mean, if you don't mind, could you? I would like to.
Yeah, it just happened. I was somewhere. I was at my son's school, literally, and as I'm walking in, he had something going on during the day. And as I'm walking in, there was one of our listeners. She was like, "Hey, Nate." We were sitting there just chilling. She was like, "You know what?" And this is what I get a lot, Terrace. I get, "What is wrong with Terrace?" That's what I get. That's what she said. I said,
I could have answered that. I could answer that question. I'm
just impressed that 2 minutes into the return to season 3, Terrace got in a chattel slavery reference. I mean, that's just amazing that man managed to get that in that quickly,
that fast
into the season.
And Terrace, everybody knows that FBA is a branch of MAGA. I mean, that's been well established.
That is so untrue. Come on.
What is that? What is that? What is FBA?
That was a reach. Yeah. What is it?
FBA is this fake pro-black movement. It stands for Foundational Black Americans. And basically, it's a way of splitting the black vote in the black community. They've been successful in doing it. So what they say is that there's a difference. And of course, we know there are some differences between black people whose parents were born in the United States and they grew up in the United States, as opposed to black people who immigrated here. And so it's basically a scam to get black people to not vote and to get black people to look down on immigrants. And again, bravo to the Republicans. I mean, they played these fake FBA, fake black, pro-black people as like a fiddle. I give them props for that, but everybody knows that, Terrace.
In a 30-second rebuttal, the same people who have something against the people whose families were born here on this soil, opposed to the immigrants, would vote for somebody like Kamala Harris, who would then vote against reparations in the cash form to black people. That they would say, we are family. That's what. Hold on, let me finish. The people who have been voted, elected. Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, all these people who are Joy Reids, they are not foundational black American. They have other lineage, so they do not. So they cloud up the cash reparations talk. So it's okay. So the Democrats are like, yeah, we want cash reparations, but you guys are electing people who don't even qualify for cash reparations. So you never, you talk about dividing the black, dividing black people. You want to talk reparations.
Wait a minute, Terrence, you're okay with electing a white person who wouldn't be eligible for?
I didn't say that.
For reparations.
The Democratic Party will prop up someone who is non-foundational black to represent black people. They will prop up someone who's non-foundational black to represent black people when black people are like, oh yeah, we want reparations, but you have not even thought about putting anybody who's up there who will fight for reparations. So what are you doing? What are we doing? That's why I like to delineate myself completely from these Kamala Harris's who are not even African. and y'all going to put up there like she's black and we want to accept her. But when we talk about reparations, she ain't got nothing to say about it because she doesn't have blood ties here on this country.
Okay.
Okay.
That was about, I'd say that was about
Nathan.
3 minutes and 45 seconds.
Definitely over 30.
Just not to
I
quibble
kept getting
about a few
interrupted.
seconds.
That's straight comedy hour, Terrence. But again, I mean, I understand that's how you feel, bro. Straight. But Kamika knows it. FBA is definitely, man. Everybody who is objective and can put thoughts together knows that FBA is MAGA. That they were created to divide the black community, and they did it. They were successful. It is what it is. People.
You're saying Tariq Nasheed only came around since MAGA.
I'm saying Tariq Nasheed. I'm saying Tariq Nasheed.
He's only been around since MAGA.
I'm saying
he didn't do the art of pimping, the art of macking. He didn't come out with that. He didn't come out with Hidden Colors 1, 2, 3. You didn't come out with all these underground videos that expose white supremacy. You're saying that.
Do you want to hear my answer? I'm saying that Tariq Nasheed, like you said, former pimp, a man who wrote books about how to prostitute women, prostituted black people, and pimp black people into believing that they're some kind of lineage. And I think if somebody could do the financials, I wouldn't be surprised if he getting paid by these pro-MAGA influencers and billionaires in some way, shape, or form. I would not be surprised. There's plenty of videos on YouTube right now about it, where people have done the work and have completely outed this guy. I mean, it's very simple. He traded as prostitutes for susceptible and gullible black people as prostitutes. That's all.
No, so Terrence, you left yourself open when you lived macking, but have you seen Hidden Colors? Has everybody on here seen Hidden Colors? Can we do we need to watch Hidden Colors with Phil.
1, 2, and 3.
What is it? I never heard of it. What is it?
I know you, so let me
and I support the
by the way, I'm very
have y'all seen Hidden Colors?
David, the people on the show tell you I'm very culturally hip.
No,
whether it's movies or song, dance,
no,
I'm on top of it. Just so you know, they'll tell
He's
you
on top of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. See, black people haven't even seen Colors, right? When it comes,
only black people have seen Hidden Colors. I said only black people have watched Hidden Colors.
Have you seen it?
All of them.
I don't even know what it is. Is it a TV show?
It's a series. It's a series of, I would say, mediocre videos where it talks about the unwritten history, unspoken about history of slavery.
Why do you have the mediocre?
Because it's mediocre. I mean, from
Dr. Snevy, mediocre.
Never met Till Colors.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like the way it was edited, the way it was all arranged. It's mediocre.
It was 2013, 2010, 2009. You didn't have
standards in 2009. Wait a minute, you tell me they didn't have standards in 2009 and
2013? We didn't have access to editing equipment that we have now in the modern day form. Only
I just want to get clear. Was the information mediocre, or were you saying cinematography was mediocre?
I'm talking about the arrangement of it was mediocre.
But how was the information to you? Was the information good to you?
I mean, I would say that I learned some things from it.
Oh, okay. All right. Because see, call mediocre, and then when I know we learned some things from it, because I was there when it came out, and I've seen them all. I got them DVD or whatnot. But then try to diminish it. Like, why would you try to do that to the brother that's trying to put out good information?
Well, at this point, I realized what Hidden Colors was. Hidden Colors was, you got to understand what Tariq Nasheed is. Tariq Nasheed is not an activist. He's an influencer. I ain't hating on the brother. I mean, and that was a way for him to make money, and he made money off of it. I mean, I'm happy for him. But when I look back at it, what I realized is that was the hook. You always got to have a hook in the con game, in the pimp game. That was the hook to get a lot of gullible black people to believe that somehow he was in your best interest. And it worked.
Well, Tariq Nasheed wasn't the focus of the movie. It was a bunch of Dorians in the movie.
Well, didn't he direct it?
Right?
Who brought up Hidden Colors?
I did.
I didn't bring. Oh, because he brought up Hidden Colors.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't bring it up because I know what he is and what he's done. But I understand a lot of black people revere him because he edited a series of videos, and they think he's for his best interest, but it's clear that it's not.
Guys, attribute Tariq Nasheed to the FBA movie.
He created the FBA movie.
He's the leader of the FBA.
He created the FBA movie. Yes, he's the leader.
It wasn't just him. It was Carnell, or what's her name, Carnell. And there was a lot of people who were involved in.
Now,
You're talking about Yvette Carnell, who I interviewed before. She started ADOS.
ADOS and FBA, the same thing. That's the same thing. That's the exact same thing. There's no, it's a lineage. It's not an organization or a group. It's a lineage. It's like me when I say tribe of Judah. When I talk about black people, I take it all the way back to the biblical days and tribe of Judah. When I say we are the tribe of Judah, that's what I'm talking about. And if
wait a second. What do you mean you're the tribe of Judah?
When I say the tribe of Judah, and then we start making a group about that, you can't.
Come on. Were you bar mitzvahed?
Oh, I'm not even going there. I'm not going there.
So you're full, right? ADOS is cool, but FBA no good. Is that what you're saying?
There are some differences between the two, but we were talking about FBA.
I don't think so either. They're the same thing.
FBA.
They're the same thing. You're the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
But you said FBA is MAGA. You said FBA is MAGA.
FBA is MAGA. They're not the same thing. But any organization that tries to pit people of color against themselves is MAGA.
They're trying to take people of color who has interest in her family, has lineage that goes back to their great grandparents who's fought in wars to preserve this country and the things and built this country. And then the people who immigrate over here who are against us. There's people who come over here, the African immigrants that are come over here who are clearly against Americans. They talk about how they want to take us down, how we're lazy, we don't take advantage of our opportunities, and then and then they come over here and they take the black plight and say, yeah, we are African American.
Like that's an argument.
See what I mean? See what I mean?
If he's
hook, line, and sinker.
ADOS is ADOS.
See what I mean? Hook, line, and sinker. And I give Tariq a lot of credit, man. He is very susceptible. He is very good at connecting with gullible people that want to believe that nonsense, and they end up working against their own best interest. He's good. That's why I started the show by giving him props. Yeah. And listen to Terrace. Terrace thinks that immigrants is his problem. Immigrants are not the problem in this country, but because Tariq Nasheed took that pimpology and used it on, and I'm just going to say it just one time, on people who share Terrace's belief system, it worked like a clock. It worked perfectly.
And then in Minneapolis, when we have the scamming going on of the Somalians, and then I'll bring it up to the Democrats, and the Democrats are like, that money could have came to reparations.
Here's what makes me mad about you going off on that. That's the only example that you ever bring up is the situation in Minnesota with the Somalians. Why don't you bring up how Donald Trump is just pimping the hell out of this country? You don't have a problem with him getting $1.7 billion off of scamming the IRS over a BS lawsuit that he's then going to turn around and give money to January 6 people who are getting it off. You don't have any problem with him enriching his family, his son, with everybody else, but you want to point to the immigrant scams. This gets to the point of what Nathan is bringing up about how dumb we are when we fall for these things that the rich and upper class always pit. It's a classic magician's trick. I'm going to have you look over here so you're not paying attention to what I'm doing over here with the other hand that's really getting over on you. It's like 10% of people own 90% of the wealth. There is some number like that in this country. But the problem that you got is immigrants who don't have any more than what you've got. The issue that you got is rich people shipping jobs overseas to other countries, taking jobs away from Americans, but they want you to believe that immigrants are taking the jobs away that black people don't want to do anyway. Black or white people don't want to do. It is the ultimate pimp job. It is the ultimate scam. It makes you sound unintelligent when you start to go on these rants against immigrants, yet you say nothing about Elon Musk and the rest of these people who are pimping because you want to be them. That's the trick that they get. They get most people thinking like, oh, you ain't gonna never be Elon Musk. You're never gonna be Jeff Bezos. You're never gonna be any of these billionaire people. But that's the line of crap that they feed to Americans is you can be me. You're not gonna be them because they're not gonna let you be them. And that is the game that they run on us. You need to quit looking at other people who look like you, trying to look down on them or
Right.
think your real fight is with them. While you're fighting with them, the people who you really should be fighting with are laughing at you. They love hearing you say this.
Tariq Nasheed got black people out here thinking that because some immigrants come over here and say some things, they might criticize African Americans, that's your enemy. Meanwhile, your gas is higher, your insurance is higher, the cost of education is higher. In the South, your votes are being diluted, but we're supposed to be focused on immigrants because they said some stuff about some black people outside of a nightclub one day. It's pimp game 101. And I say, bravo, they pulled it off. You know, game recognized game. They pulled it off. There's a lot of gullible people running around here thinking that immigrants, black and white, thinking that immigrants are the reason why your grocery bill is higher. It's the immigrants. Because your rent is higher. It's the immigrants. And it's so transparently a con game. But hey, it's working. So, I mean, I'm not going to criticize it. It's working. It is what it is. So when Tariq Nasheed told I don't know how big his audience is, but let's say he got 1 million people that follow him. When he told them, and think about this, it makes no sense. When he tells black people say they're not going to vote until they get reparations, how do you get something that you don't vote for? But you got people out there beating their chests, all proud about it. I'm never going to vote until we get reparations. How you going to get reparations if you don't vote for it? How you going to get reparations from this administration? But people believe it. You want to believe that? You go ahead and believe that and see how far it gets you. Have you noticed how Tariq Nasheed and the FBA don't do any reparations rallies anymore? When Biden was in office, every year, every summer, it was a pro-reparations rally. Trump in office, they don't even talk about it no more because it was all a con. It was all a con from day one. You're upside down, Damon, at least on my screen. It was all a con, but let's get back to it. We see a lot of people. Oh yeah, DeAndre Tethers. Yeah, I mean, listen, you doubt what I'm saying. You go to his YouTube channel right now and tell me if he's talking about anything that's relevant to what black people are actually experiencing every single day. Moms and dads, people that got to work every day. No, he's pointing fingers and talking about Democrats and tethers and immigrants, and his audience loves it. So I give him props, man. I mean, I'm not trying to down the brother. I'm just calling it for what I see it. You know what I'm saying? Let him do what he want to do. People like it. They like
what strategy are they? I always say with these cats, what strategy are they giving your people? Like, it's one thing to try to educate, to give people a history. It's one thing to point out issues with the system, but what tools, what information are you giving that moves us forward? You know, one of the things I get tired of, you know, sometimes with black people is we get on this slavery stuff and this history, and you got all of these people who are out here who are talking this ish about history and what we need to know, but they have no plan to move the people forward. It's just all complaining. It's just all this, that, or the other. Where is the blueprint? That's what I'm respecting. I don't give a damn how much history you know. If you ain't got a blueprint for how to move the people to forward, what good is it? What good is it? And that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to have a political strategy. We got to have an economic strategy. We got to have a daggone family strategy. Because right now, whether you like it or not, it's our kids that are dying in the streets out here every single day. It's black men who are getting shot on metro buses in Cincinnati and so forth and so on. It's our people who are being mass incarcerated. Man, miss me on the history lessons. I'm tired of these cats that's just out here in this trap without giving us any kind of plan forward. Where is the plan?
The plan is it's a lineage. It's a lineage. It's like the worst. The only thing worse than a mofo that never reads is a mofo that's read one book or learned a new word and think he knows something. It's a lineage. It's a lineage. You know, what does that mean? It's a lineage. But hey, the game worked. I give them props. It is what it is. Luddy writes, y'all still talking politics. Y'all still haven't learned this crap ain't for us. I can't even read the rest. I get it, Luddy. I appreciate you being here, man. But that's what I'm talking about. This ain't for what? What? Voting ain't for us? See, I told you. they bravo to the Republicans and their black surrogates like Tariq Nasheed and Dr. Umar Johnson, who came to Cincinnati.
We're just on Umar Johnson's list.
I wish I was in the audience. Man, it would have been a viral moment if I was in the audience.
When Dr. Umar Johnson came to Cincinnati, y'all were big ups in him and talking about, y'all were giving him so many props. I was the only one that stood up against Umar Johnson when he came to Cincinnati on this podcast. Y'all were like, oh yeah.
Who on this podcast gave Umar Johnson big props?
You're misremembering.
We can go back. I think I'm not going to say no names. But when he came, I can remember one particular crew member saying, "Black Queens forever, Snow Bunnies never," right here on Hot Mic. And I just sat there and I was like, and then I lit him up on Hot Mic. I'll go back and I'll find it. I'm gonna go find it. And now we're talking about how Dr. Umar was a grifter. Y'all, hey, that's what I'm talking about. When the Democratic Party's done with y'all talk about what the Republican Party does. When the Democratic Party is done with black people, black men especially, they done. They gonna turn their back on you so quick.
Sierra writes, terrorist, that's fake news. That's fake news. Regina writes, why is Phil showing his legs? I missed that. Luddy writes, talk Black Wall Street. That's the plan. I just love it, man. Like I said, bravo. They have pimped some of these people's brains. It is masterful. And they believe it hook, line, and sinker. Rilo writes, what's wrong with Dr. Umar Johnson? What you mean? What's right with him? That's the real question. What's right with him? Oh my God. He said, Ninja in here talking self-sufficiency. Okay. Well, okay. You having trouble hearing this, Phil? I don't hear you at all, actually. I think you might be having some
Everybody's coming across like real scratchy. Yeah. Am I the only one hearing that?
Yeah, you're scratchy.
Fanon's here. What's up, Fanon?
Hey, glad to see everybody in this glasses-rich, testosterone-heavy discussion today. Glad to be here with you all.
Let's get into some topics, because we've been freestyling here, just kind of catching up. It's been a minute since we've been on about.
Am I the only one having trouble hearing you guys? Is everybody else hearing everybody clearly? I hear
everybody. You might want to step out and come back, Phil. See if that works. Because you're choppy when you come in. But yeah, I hear everybody fine. I just saw you backstage. My apologies. I would have brought you on earlier had I saw you.
No, you all would have.
Yeah, we just been having a conversation. That's it. Family catching up. Brothers arguing over plate at the last family gathering. That's it. Just arguing with terrorists, and we might be arguing with Damon if we can get him on. Damon, you might want to leave and come back. Matter of fact, I'm gonna.
And take that Bluetooth off. If Damon takes the Bluetooth off, I think he's trying to use a connection. That was the same problem that Brother Dre was having. If you take it out of the Bluetooth, I mean, it's just not going to be possible for him to do that.
No, we've been on since about, I don't know, maybe 1:10 or something. Just talking, just catching up. We haven't even hit any of the topics that we plan to talk about. But let's get into it. Let's talk about this Cincinnati police, or let's talk about the man that Cincinnati police arrested because he was recording outside of a bank. And I'm not sure if people are aware of the type of content that he was doing. And I just came across it just, being on YouTube, and I find it to be fascinating. But they call themselves auditors, First Amendment auditors. So what they do basically is they test the boundaries of our constitutional rights, primarily when it comes to police interactions. That's what they do. And what they'll do is they'll take cameras into public spaces and see what happens and see if police, I guess, know the law. And it seems like that's what was happening here in Cincinnati. There was a man, I believe he's an African-American man, who was outside. He was recording around a bank. And I believe the security guard at the bank called the police. The police roll up and they start asking him questions like, what his name is. And if you ever watch these shows, these guys, they don't cower. Like, they stand on it and they say it with their chest. And when the police ask them questions like, what's your name and what are you doing? They purposely don't answer because they're testing their First Amendment rights. And that's what happened here in Cincinnati. And the man was arrested. If you haven't seen the video, if enough people tell me, I'll play it. But I'm thinking a lot of people may have seen it because it went viral here. And we did have Ken Colbert scheduled to come on, who was the president of FOP, but he's sick and he wasn't able to join us. I know there were some quotes, and a lot of people seem to be backing the police officers' actions, saying, hey, listen, if police ask you a question, answer it. The police did the right thing. Kevin Aldridge wrote an opinion piece, which, in my opinion, is on the opposite side of that. But what's your take, and Kevin, what's your take about what went down? Did the police do the wrong thing? Was this person instigating and he got what he wanted? Are both of those things true?
Yes.
What's your take?
Yeah, I think both of those things were true. I think the guy got what he set out to do, and I think police handled the situation wrong. I mean, this goes to a point that I made last season on the podcast, and a lot of people was like, Kev, you can't say that, you're gonna get people killed, telling them that, giving them that kind. But this really does come down to what your First Amendment rights are and the policies that police are required to follow. Cincinnati policy says that it is not unlawful for someone to be standing in a public place recording a building, a person, an event, or activity. In fact, police are not even allowed to ask you what you're recording, what you're doing. They cannot ask you for any information. That's exactly what we saw unfold in this situation. The guy was clearly outside recording. The police could see that. In fact, that's what he was challenging the police on. You see what I'm doing here. And what happened in that situation is what I see happen far too often, not just with Cincinnati police, but I think it's police in general, where police lose their patience and they get pissed off when people that they're questioning don't give them what they want or attempt to exert their rights, because police are always from the standpoint that they know the law, and what they say the law is, that is what it is. And we've seen in numerous cases where if they do know the law, they certainly know when you don't know the law and how far they can press their authority with some people. And the thing that stunned me about this whole situation was how quickly it escalated. I mean, if you watch this video, they went from talking to him to arresting him in less than 5 minutes. No imminent threat, no weapon produced, no evidence that the guy was even committing a crime. Yet in less than 5 minutes, they had this guy in handcuffs and was taking him down to the jail. I think that's just ridiculous. This was a perfect situation where police had just slowed down, kept their composure. They could have probably sorted this thing out, and it wouldn't have been any issue, right? You could have probably gotten the guy to move on. He might have kept trying to press it to see if he could get him to respond, but eventually he would have probably gone away because the police weren't giving him what he wanted. And I'm just really surprised that, and I've raised this question in my column too. These First Amendment auditors aren't new, and Fanon can probably speak to this as someone who deals in this area of legality, but these guys aren't new. And a lot of police departments run into these guys across the country, and many of them don't fall for it, right? Cincinnati fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And so you can say, well, this guy makes money off of this, all of this kind of thing. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is Cincinnati police officers were put to a test and they failed. I mean, I look at this almost as like any kind of training exercise. If this were a training exercise, these officers would have failed based on city policy and based on not recognizing what these guys are coming to do. I mean, come on, he's recording a bank in broad open daylight, right? He's hobnobbing with the security guard, asking him questions, right? Like, I mean, I get you got some dumb criminals out there, but I think a thinking person who was taking their time to evaluate the situation probably says, this cat ain't trying to rob the bank, so I don't even need to take it there. So that's just my thought.
Do we know who called the police? Was it the security guard that was outside in the video?
It was because the guy even tried to confront him in the video. If you watch the video, and maybe confront is an overstatement. He asked the guy who was standing down the street. He was like, the the police said that they got a call, and he looked at the guy. He was like, did you call the police on me? Because I guess he was the guy that he had been asking questions about the bank about and had been engaging. And so I guess the brother got concerned and called the police or whatever and had him arrive. But
yeah. Well, Phil and Fanon, what are your actual rights? Like, if I'm in that situation, do I have to at least tell the police my name? Do I have to show them my ID? What does the law say?
You guys hear me? Or am I still coming in scratchy?
Yep, we hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Can hear you.
Well, Fanon's probably had more recent experience with this, but at least from what I understand is if the police have a reasonable suspicion that you're committing or will commit a crime, it doesn't specify whether it's a misdemeanor or whatever, then you have to give, if they ask you for your name, your birthday, and that kind of thing, you have to give it to them. And the issue here, and Kevin said pretty well in his article, was, did they have a reasonable suspicion that he was about to commit a crime? But framework, and I'll trust Fanon to correct me on that. But let me just say, in more from a general standpoint, I think there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on here. Okay, we're sitting here reviewing this tape over and over and looking at what everybody said and did. These cops, who knows, they may have had 5 runs before this. Okay, they get a run to a bank that somebody's acting whatever suspiciously, and okay, they say, what are you doing? They weren't there trying to harass the guy. They're just saying, hey, what's your name? What are you doing? And the guy is totally belligerent, okay, and basically make his video, the cops look bad. And even though technically maybe the police shouldn't have arrested him or whatever, I mean, give me a break, okay? Okay, this guy's just to bait the police. It's not like he's catching a bunch of cops that are letting himself beating up people or something. They're just there trying to do their job. He's basically hassling them so he can get a good video out of it. So I have no sympathy for that guy.
Wow, that's harsh, Phil.
But Phil, is it about having sympathy for the guy, or is this about proper police procedure? Because the point I'm making in my column is, yes, if you want to focus on the setup and on this guy, but what concerns me is what happens when it's an average Cincinnatian, right? They didn't know, the cops didn't know this guy was a First Amendment auditor or what he was doing when they rolled up on him. He could have been a Cincinnatian. Like, that's the ultimate Monday morning quarterback, is the quarterback to find out. Wait a minute, let me finish that thought, and I'll let you have it, because I am asking you the question.
Okay, all right, okay, all right.
Yeah, so if he was an average Cincinnati, they had no way of knowing that when they rolled up on him. My issue is not even that they did their job in coming to find out what was going on. My point is how quickly this thing escalated to the point where you're arresting this man, right? Like, if you were suspicious of what he's doing, they could have just hung out there and watched him and waited to see what he was doing. They did not have to escalate things to the point with no evidence that he was committing a crime. Like, to arrest somebody because they don't want to give you their identification, to me, is a chicken shit charge. To take a quote out of Joe Dieter's book. That's a chicken shit bullshit charge that you just do because you're pissed off at somebody.
We got children.
You're pissed off at somebody not being cooperative with you. That's a BS bogus charge. It really is. And so if the police wanted to really handle this situation in a civic manner, and you were concerned about this guy doing something, then just sit there and observe them. They're bike cops. What else are they doing? They're bike cops patrolling downtown in the middle of the day. What else are they doing? I mean, come on. So that's all I'm saying.
Let me hop in here on a couple of things. First of all, I watch these auditor videos all the time. I have for about the past 2 years. There's the guy called Ammangasset Press. Him and his son go all around the country, and they just stand on the sidewalks and they film businesses, and they go inside post offices with their cameras to whirl up the soil. There's another guy by the name of Long Island Auditor. he goes up to prisons and stands outside of prisons, and he goes and their confrontation. This guy called the tyrant. Oh God, what is his name? Somebody mentioned him in the press. It's a black guy. He goes into public spaces, agencies and stuff, and he makes public records requests, and he messes with folks all on camera. There are a whole army of these folks who do what they do for attention and for a payout. Attention and a payout. I watch them because, number one, I like what I say. I mean, it's entertaining, but I also watch it because it's irritating. You know how you watch stuff because it's irritating and you can't look away? What they do is irritating. It's a pain in the butt seeing what they harassing folks. Because if I'm the average person walking in the post office, I don't want somebody sticking a camera in my face, and I'm probably going to confront them, even though ultimately I got to walk away because they have the right to do that. And so the security guard was absolutely correct when he called and said, hey, there's some guy out here filming the bank. I don't know what's going on here. He was absolutely correct when he did that. The police were absolutely correct when they showed up and started asking him questions. They were absolutely correct. In fact, I would argue that was their duty and their obligation when they got a call that there was something weird going on to go and talk about it. He was absolutely legally correct when he said, oh, well, I'm just standing out here. I'm okay. I'm not doing it, but they were wrong when they arrested him. And they arrested him because, well, the legal reason they said they arrested him was for fader ID. The fader ID statute, when it's actually kind of new, it's only about 10, 15 years old. It's an offshoot of obstruction of official business. Why? Because they had to find a way for you to get around your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. What does that mean? That means I got to tell you nothing just because you asked me questions. That is my Fifth Amendment. Remember Dave Chappelle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth. That's what that is. That is our endemic right. That if we're asked questions, we don't have to say anything. You can't lie, but you don't have to give any information. So what they did, they added, because people were getting arrested on obstruction. I know without the prosecutor, then I did some cases on the civil rights end. They were arresting people for not giving information, but that was their Fifth Amendment privilege. So they created the failure to ID law, which says if they believe that there is reasonable suspicion that you have committed, are about to commit, or are committing a crime, then you have to ID. So there has to be reasonable suspicion that you're committing, have committed, or about to commit. Regardless of how you look at that, that's not here. You say, well, he was casing the bank. That's not about to commit. Casing is not illegal. Robbing is illegal. So if you say, well, he was about to rob, did he have a gun? Did he say, give me your money? Did he have a bag in his hand? Like there's no reasonable argument that what they did is applicable for him having to give ID here. It just isn't. And I've heard some things where he was stepping to the other guy. So he was about to commit an obstruction or whatever. That's so specious. My guess is within a week or 2 weeks, he's going to go to court and the prosecutor's going to step up and say, Your Honor, we've looked at the facts here and we're going to dismiss this at the request of the prosecuting attorney. Again, what the auditors do is irritating. I encourage everybody to go and take a look at some of them. What the officers did in investigating was absolutely appropriate. But that auditor got exactly what he wanted. He got views, he got news stories, and at the end of the day, it may be a couple $1,000. He's going to get a financial surprise at the end of this lollipop. It's not going to be a huge million case, but
Fernand, do you mean from the city he's going to get, or he's going to get money for posting online?
No, from the city for unlawful arrest. I mean, for arrest without probable cause, for unlawful detention, those kind of things. I mean, I can see those claims existing based on what I saw here. Yeah. Now, I'm not representing him. My phone has not rung with the guy on. I haven't got that call. But I'm just saying, from the type of case that I do and what I understand the law is, I can see that happening.
So it seems like, from your perspective, you're leaving out the aspect that Long Island auditor, and they're also exposing the police for not being able to do their job correctly.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Right? So that's what it is. Like, it's not what he's getting, but they're also exposing that the police algorithm isn't like mine, because I'm seeing these videos every day. So they should have some type of balance where it's say, oh, they might have went on five runs before this. Well, I mean, their mental state is their mental state, but our police officers have to be smart enough not to put themselves in this situation. So now we're in a national news story about our police officers not living up to the bills. The Steegee's fault or whoever, right? but our police officers failed in this. And there's no like, oh, well, what if, there are no what ifs, or maybe they shouldn't, or this guy was wrong. Our police officers who have the moral obligation and duty failed today.
Yeah. So let me offer another reason I think that this happened. What we many of us see and what we believe is that there are intentional strategies by our city law enforcement to support development. What do I mean by that? I remember when Vine Street, I got here in 1993. I remember when Vine Street was torn down buildings all the way from Lower Clifton all the way to just about AAA, and where we now have School of Performing Arts. And we had Washington Park that was not in the same condition that it is now. And you had a facility across the street that housed individuals who did not have homes and needed places to stay. Well, then there was a strategy that they were going to build up that area to what we see now. So what happened was law enforcement started over policing certain areas in order to move folks out to prepare that area. What we know is that the building and code department has been accused of heavily enforcing certain areas that the city would like to develop, because it makes sense that the owners of those places cannot then afford the ticketing, cannot afford the fine. Some of them actually get jailed for the properties that they have that are in places where they want to make development. What we had about 3 days before this incident happened was 3CDC announced that they had bought the hotel right there, Piat Park. There's been conversation about Piat Park, and that we're going to be developing this. So now I just believe that what we're going to see is just what we saw is more heavy enforcement, the broken windows theory, right? That you address small minor things in order to eliminate more folks or more of those types of things happening in preparation for people looking at it as friendly to invest in or to come down there and to be in those spaces. I don't think we would even be having this conversation if that had not been necessarily part of the strategy about we got to clean up downtown, we got to make it appear safe, and so we need to be aggressive when we engage people who are doing what we don't want them to do. That's just my personal observation, not based on any documents I've read from city or anything else. It's just what I'm thinking and seeing.
I believe he got jacked up because he was ADOS too.
To me, that's hilarious. Yeah, because it's clear to me that there are multiple people wrong in this. Number one, Phil. Phil is dead wrong. Everything he said, dead wrong. I'll take that back. Number two, Phil. Number one was that security guard.
Flatter me, Nathan.
You're right. You're right. Number two, not number one. You're number two. You're number two in this list. Number one is that security guard. That security guard had no reason to call. I've heard you guys say the security guard did the right thing. He did not do the right thing. He had no reason to waste taxpayer time and dollars focusing on a man who's just walking past with a camera. And I'm really upset about it. He needs to be retrained.
He was taking pictures.
For all he knew, the
that
man
was your
was a
shop,
tourist.
Nathan. Would you? And you had some pictures. Would you call the cops doing that? I think most people would.
No, I would not. Absolutely not. No, I would not call the police. You know why? Because he's just taking pictures. He's just taking pictures. That's it. And for all I know, he was a tourist from out of town who likes architecture. Like, don't they sell the architecture of Cincinnati as a reason for people to come here? I see people downtown taking pictures all the time. So no, that security guard served up that brother so he could appear to be a good worker bee to his handlers and his boss. See, he was looking inside our windows, boss. I don't know.
Nathan, you need to quit that. You need to quit that, man. No, wait a minute.
God for this.
He's pacing our place, boss. That shame on that man.
Hey, wait a minute, Nathan. Wait a minute. It is defense for you hitting with the Uncle Cephas, man. Or you hitting with the Uncle Cephas. Now here's the one thing that we don't know. Now, apparently the brother that was filming did engage him and was asking him some questions about the bank security or whatever. I don't know. That's what the reporting was. I don't know what specifically were the questions that he was asking.
Right.
So I think you kind of need to know that to some degree to understand. I mean, I can understand his position. If you are in that position and a guy is outside filming the bank and he's asking you probing questions about security, if you don't take those measures and the guy does something, that's on you. That's his job. So I'm going to cut him some slack on that, in that, especially when you're dealing with banks and stuff like that. Maybe he was just covering his own butt. He definitely served the brother up. There's no question about that. But there may have been an element of cover your own butt, because if this brother does actually do something crazy, if he's thinking about it and he did not report it, it would likely be on him. But
I hear you, but you yourself said, Kevin, that you know that people can be a little less intelligent, but they ain't that less intelligent that he gonna case the place that he's about to rob. He's going to show his face unmasked and ask questions about a vault that he's about to go rob. It makes no sense. I did security in college. I had all kinds of jobs. I did security. Your discernment is a part of it. Bad discernment. He served that brother up. He looking at our windows, boss. I don't know what he doing. Dead wrong.
Let me ask
you this, and this is a question right up your alley. Like, do you think that perhaps, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you on that. And I didn't go there in the column, but I kind of alluded to this a little bit. Do you think that everything that we've been dealing with the city, with safety, with downtown, with all of this perception about crime being bad, do you think that could have played a role? I think both with the officers and with this bank guy, with this sort of this hyper vigilance. Because I agree with you. To me, it does seem a little bit ridiculous. But if you start to buy into this hype about how dangerous downtown is and all of this stuff, does it make you a little bit more quick on the trigger for these sorts of things?
Fadon, he referenced that when he's talking about the Piedmont Park, or the park that he was talking about. I think he referenced that, and you can go a little bit deeper when the Tri-I was having the free feeding the homeless, and they've kind of pushed them out too. I mean, there's some validity to what Fanon is saying about that. So, I mean, it's just irresponsible all the way around. They should have known that the guy was grifting. And I think if you find other police officers, and that's what I would have liked to see Ken Colbert come on here, because I'd like to see him white-splain this stuff. He'd have to let us understand what a police officer could be possibly thinking whenever he's like, I don't want to give you my, you're not, I'm locking you up. I mean, that has to and explain that. That's why I was disappointed to see that Ken Colbert couldn't come over and just answer that specific question.
Oh yeah, us too. That's why we reached out. Kevin and I were talking. Yeah, absolutely. Because when we had these conversations, like, having that perspective is invaluable. Yeah, that's why we wanted Brenda to come on, and hopefully he can come on, he'll get over what he's dealing with, and maybe we can talk about this if it's still relevant. But to answer your question, could be. But I still say that if that security guard had used more judgment and more discernment to realize this guy was just nothing, none of this would have happened.
Let me ask you something, Nathan, and there's certainly degrees to this thing, but say you're at home and you live, your house is on the street, just on a regularly traveled public street, and there's a car that's sitting outside your house, and there's some folks in it, and you're not sure what they got going on. They're kind of looking at your house and doing it. They're doing nothing illegal from your vantage point.
Right.
But they're engaged in something that you got your family there. You're there. This is your street. Do you call the police? Do you ignore it? Or do you go outside, tap on the window, and investigate it yourself?
I have done two of those things. So I live in the city, right? In the city. So I've looked outside my window. I might look outside the window right now, many a day, and see suspicious cars, because that's just where I live at. And I'm like, who is that? And I'm in the window like, look at that. Who is this? I've even taken pictures. Like, let me take a picture in case something happened. Never approached them because they weren't doing nothing. And I've also seen the same car for weeks and weeks and weeks, and noticed people was doing drug dealings and called the boys on them and would do it again. Have I went up to the window?
I wanted to. Because I had a case one time where the police arrested somebody and charged him with possession of heroin, and it was cornstarch. It looked like drugs.
It was gold medal flour.
So you would have called the police on somebody that you knew was drug dealing, but
he was telling it like it was.
Hey, Fanon, you mean the police don't dip You mean the police don't dip their pinky in that bag and taste it like they do on TV? They don't do that for real. They don't
Not
do
in
that
the
in
case
real
that I
life.
had.
Now, and just so people know, what happened is there was some dudes, and this happened a couple of times. I live in the city, it's gonna happen, and I live near one of the interstate interest ramps. So you already know what that means, right? People whipping it on, body drugs, boom, they go back to where they get into. But you're not gonna turn my street into an open air drug market. You ain't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
And so where's the threshold? At what point?
The threshold is when I
conduct
see
that's
you
suspicious enough for you to say, look, it's not safe for me or my family for me to investigate this. Let me call the police to come and ask some questions. It don't mean somebody has to go to jail.
In this example, Fernanda, the threshold for me was for weeks and weeks and weeks, I observe you on my street where my kid plays outside doing an open air drug market. Not the first time. I'm talking about weeks and weeks, because I understand I live in a city. You're doing what you're doing. You ain't bothering me. I see a little exchange. I ain't worried about it. But for weeks and weeks and weeks, hell no. I ain't going for it. Yep. And hey, Luddy, if you come to my street and try to turn my street into an open air drug market, I'm gonna call the boys on you too, and stand on the porch to let you see me. Yeah,
so you want to
like that.
specifically know that there's criminal activity that's going on, not that you're suspicious of what somebody may be doing.
Observe it over weeks. Because the last thing I want to do is call the police on anybody. You ain't bothering me. But at the point in which I know what you're trying to do, I'm like, I got family, my wife, kids. Oh, hell no. But if I was a security guard, I'd have went and talked to him, put two and two together, and kept it moving.
Yeah.
That's what I would have did.
But
I got a question.
For how
much money can he get being wrongfully arrested? Anybody know? Like he get 30, 40,000? Because
15.
Well, so there's no set amount. You gotta look at, if you look at my ads, what I answer is how much is my case worth, and so there's different assessments of how you would determine the value of a civil lawsuit. So, it would run the board, but it's not anything where he's going to be able to retire to the Cayman Islands based on what happened, at least not based on prior history of these types of cases.
He might get a one-way ticket to the Cayman, but can't retire.
Maybe.
Right. Hey, we got Fame on the line. What's up, Fame?
Hey, how y'all doing?
What's going on?
All of the distinguished panelists there. I thought that was very odd, young Lynch, that you said, how much could he get? You were looking like your daddy, a greedy preacher. How much he get? Like, damn.
Yeah,
I was like, wow. I'm like, no, he did not just be an apple falling off the tree. But I digress. Listen, that First Amendment auditor guy, I hope he don't get a damn thing. He doesn't deserve anything. He got wrongfully arrested. He had a de minimis level of disappointment or whatever. Very de minimis. And he knew what he was doing. These courts are gonna come together and say, if you're doing this for social media, cloud, all that kind of stuff, they're gonna say it in a very legalese way. Say you're not entitled to recover any damages because you did this on purpose to set it up. And this guy, he's a clown. He F's it up for everybody else who has real legal problems.
No, I disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And see, this is the part that upsets me about when we talk about these issues, because we wind up talking about the wrong things. And all of the rest of it is distraction. I agree with you. I don't care whether he gets money or not. That's not the larger issue here. You cannot lose sight, regardless of what this guy did or what his intentions are. What you got to pay attention to is, are police following procedure? And how are they handling situations with their temperament? I could give a rip about the rest of it. All of the rest of that is just background noise that gives cover to the fact that our police did not handle this situation properly. And the reason why I say, if you make the story about the First Amendment auditor, then all that does is set it up for the next average Cincinnatian who has to deal with this type of behavior from police. We get distracted by talking about the nonsense around cases like this, and we miss the larger issue and the larger point. Who cares whether the guy is getting any money or not? I ain't getting it. If the only reason I care about that is if he gets something, that means it's coming out of taxpayer dollars, and now I'm even more mad at the police because the fact that you did this unnecessary arrest, my tax dollars is being used to pay a guy who probably, to your point, who probably doesn't deserve it because of what he sets up. But again, the cops didn't notice who this guy was when they rolled up on him. It could have been you. And you would be feeling very different about what you're saying right now if you were the victim of what happened to this brother. It shouldn't matter that he was a First Amendment auditor.
Kevin, I couldn't agree less.
Let
Let me stop you right now. Let me stop you right now, Kevin. Kevin, let me stop you right now, because I couldn't agree less. I wouldn't be poking into a damn bank if I ain't got no business in the bank.
How many situations have we seen?
This dude is a sucker.
How many situations have we seen with Cincinnati police or police otherwhere where people are doing exactly not intentionally trying to provoke a situation, but average people are recording or minding their own business, and the police roll up on them and start to shake them down? You're not gonna sit there and act like that don't happen in Cincinnati. It probably happens every day on some
I'm not
level.
gonna sit here and act like that young man. I'm not going to sit there and act like that young man. He turned around and said, "You called the police on me?" We don't know what his facial countenance was. He might have been foaming at the mouth by that time. You called the police on me and stepped to him. And stepped to him. And he stepped to him.
For the cops. You reach. Are you a former police officer?
Trust me, I'm the last one who's going to. Kevin, hold on, Kevin. Mr. Aldridge, trust me. For the whole last 25 years I've known you, trust me, I'm the last one that ever shook your hand, that would ever tell you that they was caping for the cops. You see how dark my lips is? Just start from there. I'm the last one. But trust me, I know a sucker when I see one. This guy's a sucker. And he set up some bull stuff, and he got his issue. And he should. He should get his issue because he set that up. That was unnecessary. You're up there, he went through the extremes of even
police don't set people
getting involved with a bank.
Police don't set people up. Do the police set people up?
I don't know.
We okay with the police setting people up.
Any criminal activity set up. Any criminal activity I was involved in, I did it myself. I started it myself. I'll take that accountability. But this brother, I don't know what he's trying to pull off. Claiming he's the first. He's asking you simple questions. You ain't done nothing. You ain't got no problem. I don't have a problem answering these questions. I've done nothing. I'm not trying to hide nothing. I want these police out of my goddamn face immediately.
Fame.
So I'm gonna say whatever.
Two things. Let's not curse. And two,
I'm sorry, Nate. I'm sorry.
Clearly, Kevin is correct on this. It's clear.
Okay.
It's clear he's correct on this because what this man was doing, whether he set it up or not, is not irrelevant. What people are missing here is that
all capes don't wear heroes.
This was an opportunity for those officers to shine.
That's fair.
They could have shined in this. I've seen plenty of these auditor videos where the police get hit, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they're laughing. They're like, "Oh man, okay," and they let it go, and it makes them look like they are astute and competent, and that they are aware of the law, and that they're not going to major in the minor. I've seen plenty of videos like this.
And they were until homeboy turned and stepped to the security guard.
This man deserves, and people ain't gonna like when I say this, there's an argument to be made that this man deserves a pat on the back. You know why?
Oh man. All right, let me get off of here. Y'all bugging. What is this? You do the right thing. You bugging out. Y'all off of here.
Just hear me out. I know you and Phil don't want to hear this, but just hear me out. Kevin is right.
We don't want to hear
the sense of,
because it's not right. I mean, cops with the microscope
just hear me out.
Monday morning quarterbacking. They got a call from a bank off, and there's somebody calling a problem, and they get there.
Correct.
They do what we want a cop to do. What are you doing here? What's going on? And this guy has them in a gotcha because he was just trying to bait them. And I agree with that.
Yes, he was.
Or just said, I just think this is the most useless. What this guy did was the most useless. It wasn't like he was catching cops stealing money, beating up some innocent passerby. He was just
that is a terrible argument, Phil.
Let me finish this point.
Oh my God, that is a horrible. That is a horrible.
Kevin, let me finish this point.
You pro-police
let me back you up, Kevin, because Kevin is absolutely right. Hold on 1 second, Kevin. Let me finish this point because Kevin has said it 3 or 4 times. So I want to back him up. He is right. Another way of looking at this is that now those officers are going to get trained. They're going to get updated on how to interact with future interactions like this. So that means that some tourist, some private citizen who may get the police called on them in the future is not going to get arrested. The city may not have to pay out a fine because this auditor pressed this situation, and these police officers
Maybe
are
next
gonna
time
get
it'll be
updated and
somebody who's
trained.
actually committed a crime, and they'll be afraid that it's an auditor, so they're going to back off. You know, you're holding these cops under
Well, if
this
it's actually a
microscope.
crime, that's different.
The policy
it's
already
different.
says that.
Okay, but it's not so easy to tell when you arrive on the scene and you see something going on. You can't automatically tell, oh, he is definitely committing a crime or about to commit a crime. They have to act on their best instincts. And you're setting up
Absolutely.
a situation.
And their policy says that filming is not in itself a crime, and it does not create
You're setting up a
for a crime.
situation where they will get there, and there may be somebody doing something that is potentially a crime, but they're going to be afraid, it's another guy who's going to film us. We're going to be careful. We're going to back off. You can't have it both ways.
Phil, your defense, I'm surprised as a
And I wanted
prosecuting
to hear what
attorney.
Fanon said.
And you're a good prosecutor. You are a good prosecutor, Phil. You would chew this case up. And that's why I'm surprised you're putting up such a weak, poor defense for this case. And you are really, really, look, I'm not, and I don't want people to think I'm actually pro-police. I'm actually pro-better policing, and I'm hoping these guys learn from it. You said, what do I expect cops to do? Yes, I expect them to show up and do their job, but do it lawfully, to follow the rules. The fact that the job is difficult, that they've been on 4 or 5 runs, it's like all of these things you guys, the pro-police at all costs people come up with are all of these excuses, are all of these excuses that you don't give anybody else. You don't give anybody else in any other profession except for police. It's like police get all of these breaks and excuses as to why they're allowed to F up on the job, but nobody else who is under pressure, who is under deadlines, who is you don't get those kinds of breaks.
And maybe for good reason.
Have the ultimate authority of life and death. They can ruin your life simply by arresting you. They can cost you money, your reputation. That is a huge responsibility that requires the most scrutiny. And I'm tired of people who are always taking this attitude that you should never question the police or what they do. Because of the power they wield, they ought to be questioned more than anybody else. Ought to be. And so these weak defenses you guys put forward, their job is difficult. They might have been tired. How are they supposed to know? Well, that's what discernment and evaluation and judgment is all about. And that's what they need to do a better job of screening officers for before they put them on the job. Because clearly, if I know city policy is, I roll up on a guy recording and I know city policy says, I'm not supposed to question these guys or ask for identification. And he told you what he was doing. He said, you can see what I'm doing. I'm recording. I can see. Now I can see if they rolled up, dude was trying to jimmy the lock. He had a weapon on him, brandishing it. Then you jump into action. But they rolled up on a guy who was recording and within 5 minutes arrested him on a BS charge. If you Phil, you would eat that up all day in court if you were defending that guy. You would tear that to pieces and you know it. I hate that I have to do this to you, Phil. Every time we get on this program, that I have to
don't apologize.
To get you to admit the truth.
Don't apologize.
I hate that I have to do it.
I appreciate it.
Phil is purposely ignoring what Fanon just said. Fanon said it clearly, so I just want to reiterate. Fanon said that it is Cincinnati police policy that you can't arrest somebody just because they're filming. He said it over and over again. If you watch that video, and again, I don't know what was inside of those police officers, but it seemed to me that one of the officers just got fed up with it. He just got fed up and said, you know what, I'm just going to arrest you. And as a citizen, I'm not saying he needs to be fired. All I'm saying is he needs to be updated on what the policy is so that we don't arrest people that don't need to be arrested. And so the city, we don't waste that time and money with potential lawsuits. If they would have took 5 or 10 more minutes, none of this would have happened. That's good policing. Good policing isn't, I get irritated, turn around, put your hands behind your back. That's not always good policing. Sometimes it's, let me take some more time here and really understand. It might take 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time to figure out, oh, this guy's an auditor. And then you just move on with it. I'm not suggesting the officers be fired. I'm just suggesting that they just be updated on what the policy is. That's it.
I was looking for the
specific
specific criminal charge that was filed against the guy, because in the narrative, it explains that the reason he was arrested because he was asking questions about the bank and wasn't answering questions. like it wasn't because he stepped to somebody, was about to threaten somebody. It was because they revealed in that sworn complaint why, from their position, he was engaged in criminal activity. And under that sworn complaint that was filed against him for the reason he got arrested, it was an acknowledgement that he wasn't doing anything illegal. Yeah. But again, I scrutinize complaints sworn by people.
Then they like the only reprimand to violating my constitutional rights is a training class. Like, just like, we can't keep holding on to these things. Like, we gotta let them go. The officer can go work in Springdale or wherever they are having. He wasn't good enough for downtown. I think it goes back to what Fanon said about their policing differently because they are trying to cleanse an area, right? So those type of things, that can't be legal, can it? Although it's been happening all my life. But those are the things that maybe he can sue for, or we need suing for, or why we need more auditors in those places. We need auditors in Pitt Park to make sure that the police are doing their jobs. The auditors, that's some of my favorite entertainment when it comes across Facebook. Audit the auditors, right?
That's a great use of police time. Chase auditors rather than chase criminals. We are all over, so the cops can spend all their time trying to figure out if these guys are actually doing something wrong or not, and not worry about the pickpockets and the muggers or anything else. That's a great idea.
Well, I'm not
pickpockets
suggesting
and muggers. You coming from the '60s, but yeah, no.
I am from the '60s. You're damn right.
I heard it. I haven't seen a pickpocketer in a line, and I don't.
That was a bit
across, but no,
of an old-fashioned term. Sorry about that. I'll try to go a little bit. Sorry about that.
Let me just make one last observation on this too. And this is my frustration with what it seems like law enforcement has not adjusted to, which almost everybody else in society has. Gone are the days where nobody is watching the police and what they're doing. They got to wear body cameras. People got cameras everywhere. A lot of stuff that cops used to be able to get off back in the day because it was your word against theirs and nobody else was there to see it. Those days are gone. And law enforcement now is actually having their feet held to the fire of following policies and laws. And it's there for everybody to see and dissect on video when they don't. Yet there is this reluctance, right, on their part to adjust to this new technological reality that says, yes, people are watching you and you better be up on the law and your policy and doing it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to get embarrassed nationally. Now, what do police try to do to circumvent that? They're trying to pass all of these laws now to quash public records and, create little laws like Fanon said that allows them to get around the Fifth Amendment and all of these things so that police can do these I'll just say, and if you want to believe they do these things in the interest of law and order, okay. But these little things that don't technically comport with policy that they've been able to get away with for decades, now they're not. And their response to that, instead of saying, hey, better training, let's make sure our guys know the policy. When we see guys not doing it, that we're stepping down, getting them extra training and holding them accountable. Their response to that has been to push back on it, cry about how police are under assault and attack, and try to create this narrative of where people want to feel sorry about the police and villainize everybody who says, no, we want you to do the job. We want you to keep it safe, but do it lawfully, right? I'm the villain because I say that. I'm the villain because I demand that police do their job the correct way, because you're not allowed to say that in Cincinnati or in America without being labeled as anti-police. And that is the overarching problem that we have right now.
Can I take it one step further too and say that I want to take it a step further too what Kevin just saying and just assume as an American citizen in the United States of America right now, you are being recorded. I assume at all times I'm being recorded because I'm going to say this, and as a content creator, I've got my glasses on 100% of the time that it's charged, waiting for something to pop off, and I'm recording. So I would just, to anybody who's listening, I would just assume that you're being recorded 24 hours a day. Every time you walk out your door, somebody's got a camera on you. That's my 2 cents.
I kind of want to take it a step further too. Even with like the George Floyd thing, we watched things that sit on that man's neck, and then there would be people not like Phil, but like Phil. The excuse is, why can't we ever just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this was bad. I can't be here anymore. He's off the force. We've taken care of it." How come the police never can take accountability? Now, maybe the reason is if they take accountability, they get sued for more money, right? Maybe it's some money. I never just hear, okay, my bad.
I was just about to tell you, know why people don't apologize when they do wrong? Because of people like me. Because of people like Phil. I'm filing a lawsuit right now. I mean, that's the reason
that hurts
why.
our country.
Like real talk.
Exactly.
So bad
right.
Hey, and just a PSA for all of y'all out there listening. Next time you go to the bank, don't ask no questions. Because they might. Don't ask no questions about your account. Don't ask no question about why the lobby is set up that way. Don't just go in, do your transaction, and leave. Because if not, you too could wind up in a police report for asking too many questions about the bank. That's criminal now.
Right. And just because, and listen, here's the other thing. Like people have said, you have to just understand you're on camera all the time. And so I think people made the point like nobody wants to be on camera. I don't mind being on camera, especially if it's, you got my good side. I'm convinced that people who have a problem with that
Which one?
don't think they look good that day.
Which one is that?
I can't remember who said it. Oh, it's my left side. My left side. That's my good side. But I'm convinced that people to get really upset. Like I can see if somebody's all up in your grill with it. But for me, if you look good and feel good, you ain't worried about being on camera. You ain't worried about it at all. It's people that don't think they look good. You got my bad side.
I would disagree with that. Well, all right. I'd like to disagree with that.
Fine.
It is true. I'm a little jealous because I don't look as good on camera as you, Nathan. I'll agree. But I did actually, for those of you who are labeling me as sort of pro-police, blah, 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 I did a commentary on my podcast about the Supreme Court case. Are you guys familiar with this one? This is, I think it's Maryland or somewhere. Basically, it was a bank robbery. And what happened is what the police did is they used one of these surveillance tools where they looked at everybody's phone records without the names on, but everybody's phone records in the entire area. And they found the one where the guy who committed the robbery had his phone at the bank at the time they arrested him. The Supreme Court now, and the argument that even though it is not worth letting the police have survey the entire location of everybody there, and I spoke out in my little commentary very strong on the privacy, okay? Because the fact is, when you say, Nathan, I don't mind if they have me on camera. Well, the thing is, we all should mind. If we're being videotaped in a situation where they're just trying to get a lot of evidence and this and that, that is an attack on our privacy. And I hope very much the Supreme Court, they just had the arguments, but I hope the Supreme Court
I agree with you on that.
Rule, frankly, against the police in that, because let me tell you something: privacy, and we are losing more and more our rights to privacy in this country.
No, I agree with you on that. I was talking about private citizens. I'm talking about a private citizen with a phone, not necessarily law enforcement that's looking for a culprit in a crime. But I agree with you.
Welcome to Minority Report. Welcome to Enemy of the State.
Right.
Welcome
Right.
to 1984. I mean, literally, we're living even deja vu. I kind of believe, I love that movie. I kind of believe that that's actually going to be coming true soon. And we'll be able to actually hop in the machine and go backwards a little few seconds, a couple minutes. Because by camera, everything is being recorded. I mean, I've seen some investigations where they'll go to the street 2 days later and go to everybody's Ring cameras because people have consented to doing that. And you can backtrack all the way up a street around the corner and see that speedway camera where you see that same car that you then connect to what was going on and ultimately find somebody. But it is an erosion of if you go outside, it's not hidden anymore. And you don't have a right to privacy. That's just the truth of it. And the more that technology allows for that type of information to be retrieved and accessed, like in that case that Phil's talking about, the less our definition of our privacy will be able to be clearly identified.
Yeah.
Because it's all out.
But
my car was stolen last week, and the first thing I did is ask the police to look at the flock camera. So I mean, I'm not for all that, but until it hits you personally, and ask yourself that if someone stole your car, would you request the police look at the flock cameras to see if they can retrieve your car? Would you be like, oh, it's a violation of my rights?
Right.
Well, but see, Terrence, you raised the point that I was just about to hit, is that people are notoriously willing to give up freedoms and privacy in the interest of safety, right? And so I mean, we've shown this time and again, after 9/11, people allow all sorts of things, to happen because folks were scared. We got hit. And when people are afraid, particularly when you're talking about crime, and this is what I'm saying, like one of the dangers of policing and law enforcement is that what you just said, Terrace, is reasonable, right? It's reasonable. You would think like, man, if I can use these Ring cameras and piece it together to find a bad guy, why would anybody be against that? Yeah, you would be against it until it gets abused. And we know that things never just always simply stop for good uses, that there are people who always find a way around it to abuse it. That's why we create all of these laws, is because somewhere along the way, somebody was abusing a privilege that they had and taking advantage of people. And so we got to be very careful about how much privacy that we are willing to cede to the government. As they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And what you can't see now by giving up your privacy, come back later. How many of us regret giving up our privacy when we sign away our rights every time we take on an app or sign up for a different media platform, and you see how they pimping your information and listening to your calls where ads start popping up on your phone because you've enabled them to have access to your Bluetooth to listen to everything that you're saying. You got your watch connected to it. All of that, we give up the right to privacy and privileges all the time. And there are people who exploit that.
And it's a legitimate question for our country. Would we prefer safety and security or privacy? I mean, and one of the big issues that we talk about, obviously, is the Patriot Act. Everything changed after 9/11. Everything changed about how we flew, about the monitoring, about courts. Everything changed. And the question was, what as a country do we have an appetite for? And what we decided was, I think as a country at that time, is that we would rather be safe than to be free. And that's a constant question that we have to ask in our communities. It's a constant question we have to ask in our courts when we're talking about constitutional and civil rights. There is a line. And when I'm living in a community that is identified as a high drug or high crime area and I'm not safe, do I want to invite in some type of government intrusion in order to be safe? Or do I want to say, nah, forget that. I got 1st, 5th, 14th, 13th, 12th, and 10th Amendment rights. And I'd rather pull my own gun out and do it. That's a question that we have to constantly ask ourselves, of how much of our privacy and our individual rights do we want versus how much do we want to yield for our safety, security, and peace.
I want to go back to something, kind of switching topic that came up at the beginning of the show. We were talking about the Voting Rights Act, and Tara said that he thought it was a good thing that the Supreme Court has basically, struck down the ability to have districts that are majority Black. And I want to hear more of that. And we got Fanon, we got two lawyers with us. I want to know, like Fanon, what's your take on what happened and how that impacts, Black people's voting rights?
go there, can I tell you why I said that? Because when that was enacted, it was truly intended to help Black people who had been through, like Kevin said, chattel slavery, and has been through civil rights, the Civil War, and that's when that was enacted. In 2026, there's a different time. There's more people who have immigrated into this country and have claimed on to be Black to our struggle. So eliminate all that, because it doesn't favor us to have. It just doesn't make any sense. Let's take all that off. That was legislation that was written long years ago, centuries ago. Let's pick something that has something to do with now. And if the Supreme Court justices who we elected to put in there made that decision, then I'm for it. And let's make some better legislation per state to fight that. Fight it statewide. It's not a federal thing.
So in 2008, the United States Supreme Court issued a majority opinion. It was in the Louisville busing cases. Crazy that in 2008, they were still engaging in busing in Louisville. At least those policies that were put in the early and mid 70s were still in place. And ultimately, the Supreme Court struck down those schemes. And they said, we now live in a colorblind society. We now, like the Supreme Court, all these learned individuals, at that time, it was more of a moderate mix of conservatives and progressive thinkers on the bench. And at a majority opinion, they identified and said, we live now in a colorblind society. That was a tone-deaf conclusion that in 2008, we now live in a colorblind society, because in 2026, we don't live in a colorblind society. We live in a society where there are more Blacks in identifiable positions. And so, but colorblind, the fact that we continue to have conversations about issues that race is the dividing line, or at least a piece of the puzzle, means we don't live in a colorblind society. The fact that we still have chasms between incarceration rates and bad health rates and poverty rates, and the fact that those chasms are along racial lines, mean we don't live in a colorblind society. But when the highest court in the land declares that, and then all of the decisions that they make are consistent with the idea that we live in a colorblind society, they allow for laws to be created under their authority, which assume the truth of that fallacy. And if you assume the truth of that fallacy, then you have the cessation or the getting rid of the Voting Rights Act and how it assists. I will tell you, in 1993, the reason that there are Black judges in Hamilton County is because of a lawsuit on the Voting Rights Act that created districts that allowed for African Americans and women to be elected to the Hamilton County Court in order to be diversified. I know, because I was not only studied it, but I was one of the recipients of that lawsuit by senior Mr. Mallory back in 1993 that went on for almost 12 or 13 years. Only one African American before it had been elected countywide. That was Nadine Allen in 1986. There's history that continues today, and tomorrow we're going to look back on today as history. But we don't live in a colorblind society. We simply don't. And so when those protections are removed, I will offer to you that I'm, through history, a person who says sink or swim. And our history has been to swim. People get all bent out of shape when they say we cutting down 30 days of voting down to 5 days. Then go vote in 5 days then. Don't keep on complaining about it. I don't appreciate that you took it away, because clearly your intent is for fewer people to participate. But then that means that those who are the target need to reinforce their loins, understand what they're still capable of doing, and be more aggressive about how they engage it, because they still have the power to. But it's clear that reason is being done. It's clear the reason the DI is being removed, because conservatives say we live in the colorblind side, we don't need it anymore. Okay. We don't want to know about the bad history of this country, because we live in a colorblind society now. Well, history ain't changing. Like these are just truths. And so that Voting Rights Act case is consistent with exactly the direction that we've been going in, arguing that we live in a colorblind society, and therefore all that stuff we did before, it worked, and now we good today. I don't appreciate it. I understand it, but I also don't believe that it cut off our ability to participate. What it should do is encourage us to be more informed and to participate more.
Yeah, but can we just say, though, and I agree with everything that you just said, Fanon, But can we just be real about the fact that they're banking what you just talked about is not going to happen? And when we look back historically, we cannot pretend in this country that the history and the motivation has been to never allow Black people to have a power base or a particular say over government in this country. If you look at Reconstruction, and you look at the amount of Black people in the South who were elected to Congress, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And Black people had the ability to vote, and they used it back then. And what did they do? They rewrote state constitutions. They instituted Jim Crow laws. They did everything they could to diminish the Black person's ability to lead and get elected in this government. Because the number one thing that you can't forget, and Donald Trump has made this clear, white folks don't want Black folks ruling over them. Certain white people in this country don't want Black folks telling them what to do, how to live, or how to run their government, either because they're fearful of what you're going to do to them because of what has been perpetrated on you, or they genuinely believe in the white supremacy theory that you are inferior to them and not qualified. No matter how incompetent, no matter how many incompetent people Trump puts up, white males are the standard in this country, and they will move heaven and earth to make sure that Black people don't get a power base to where you can begin to have a say and actually run in this country. Just look at the back. You got Black president, and look at the backlash that you've had since that. You've had the Tea Party. You got MAGA. You got Donald Trump. All of that is a result of white supremacy feeling like they're losing control. We just can't have Black people calling the shots in this country. Let's stop pretending. Now, there are going to be some people who are going to be mad. Oh, you playing the race card and all that. No, brother, I'm spitting history. I'm telling you what has been done. And at every turn, the powers that be have tried to diminish the Black vote. And what pains me about us is those of us who buy into this notion that our vote doesn't count. If our vote didn't matter, if our vote didn't count, why do they work so hard to make sure that you can't vote? Why do they try to suppress your vote? Why do they try to redraw districts so your vote don't have no power? They know what I know, and what you should know is that when Black folks show up in force and vote, along with good-willed and enlightened, non-prejudiced white folks, we change history. We change the course of America. We've shown it time and time and time again. No, we can't do it alone. You got to have some white folks to do it because there ain't enough of us compared to them for us to do it alone. But when we do it in mass and when we do it in large numbers along with people who are open-minded, non-bigoted, non-prejudiced, who don't care about all of that stuff, we move mountains. And that is what this is all about, man. It's more the perpetuation of historical disenfranchisement of Black people to reduce the power of your vote and influence in this country.
Do you agree with that, Fanon?
That's what the decision was designed to do, or that's what the decision did?
Well, both.
I don't know that that's what it was designed to do. I mean, we can always come up with race neutral reasons why things happen. It's like there's this thing when we try jury cases, you can't make a decision of removing a juror based solely on race. So if somebody says, oh, he's removing that juror based on race, then it's on the person who made that removal to say, no, it wasn't race. I didn't like the color of his shirt. I mean, you can come up with a non-race based reason for what you do if you have any salt to you. So when I say was that what it was designed to do, I mean, there's plenty of arguments that no, we're just trying to get to a even platform in our country for everybody. And
I'm asking your opinion, though. I'm asking your opinion about it. Yeah, I'm asking your opinion about what it was designed to do.
No, so that's what I'm saying. So I don't necessarily believe that was intended to do that. But do I think that's what it does? Absolutely. At the same time that we're looking at that decision, what did they do in New Orleans? They specifically voted to remove the existence of a seat that a Black dude had just won. I mean, and then the decision came out saying, well, and also, by the way, majority minority districts are no good, and any design to help to create them or to sustain them is unconstitutional and inconsistent with our constitutional basis. So yeah, what will that do? That will dilute and will restrict the number of the amount of influence that Black voters have on the people who they represent. Because anytime you're a minority in a majority population, your value, or at least your power, is diluted. Like, that's the truth. And that's why you have majority minority districts, so that there could be a concentration of people who you're voting to represent you. So I think that this decision will absolutely eliminate that. But in running for office, just as Obama proved, you got to have positions that are universally that show universal application. In other words, what affects me affects a whole bunch of other people in the same way. And if I can concentrate and focus on those issues, then I can convince a whole lot more people of all stripes, of all political ideologies, of all ages, to say, yeah, you know what, we might be different, but he's right. These things, I do want the same good tidings in my bank account as other people do. I do want to live in a community that's safe. And I'm saying, from a broad standpoint, if I can convince folks of my message that it applies to everybody, then that's how I'll get there. But so I basically focus on being Black.
So basically, in Tennessee, it just got harder for Black people to get elected.
My fault, Tennessee.
Yeah, in Tennessee, it just got harder for Black people to get elected. And Tennessee is not going to have any district that is at least one person who's been elected with the specific concerns of Black Tennesseans, right? Because what you just said is, well, that just means that if Black people want to run a Tennessee, they just can't run on Black people's issues. They got to run on everybody's issues, right? Am I wrong about that? Am I making sense?
The black congressman who's representing Tennessee, and I'm glad he's going to be gone, because I think that's a horrible representation of your power when you get up in Congress. If I was, I would hope, that you would use your platform in a much better way. But
who are you talking about?
The guy with the afro. I can't think of his name right now.
He's in the state. I thought he was in the state house.
Yeah, he's in the state.
A state representative.
Yeah.
That type of representation.
But because you don't like him, you don't think he should be
elected? Bothers me. That statement bothers me.
I didn't even get to finish. I didn't get to finish.
No. Let me say why. You ain't got to explain
the whole statement out, and that way we can hear everything you have to say. Go ahead. Let the man finish what he was saying.
When you have that ability, and you have that calling on you, it should be about the higher calling of Black people that you're supposed to be representing. He went in there as a complete grift. That's why, in my opinion, he will be gone. He did, and that's why, in my opinion, he will not be able to represent the people, because he went in there changing up. As soon as he got the platform to be able to speak on Black issues, as soon as things didn't go his way, he flipped up and he went on the attack. And in that position, I feel like he should have been able to represent himself a little bit better than being able to go on the attack. And then
he should have been more meek, less confrontational, more yes, boss. Is that what you're saying?
And
then you would have liked him. What are you saying?
The problem that I have with what Terrence says, and this is what we often do. This is what I hate what Black people do to each other, is we then try to apply standards or expectations on each other and judge each other by measuring sticks that we don't dare to measure white candidates by. Right? You got a president who is constantly on the attack. He's constantly on the attack. But Donald Trump can do that. But a Black representative dare not be on the attack, dare not speak his mind, dare not be frank. See, this is why I don't buy the colorblind crap. Because not only do white people do this to Black people, but we do it to each other. It's a slave mentality that we go back to. The white man can do it, but the Black man better not do it.
Can I ask you, Kevin? You
gotta act a certain way. You know
what longevity does that have?
You know why?
What longevity? What longevity does that? What longevity?
I'll let you talk, Terrence. I'll let you talk.
I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question so you can continue on your talk. What longevity does it have? It has no longevity. Look at this Carson. Look at Desmond Crockett. All of them are gone. all the representation that had a chance to be articulate, to be a force in the black movement, to represent us in a long-standing way, because you know you can't get in there into Congress or the State House and get anything accomplished in one term. They get in there, they get high off the juice, and they start becoming this activist instead of playing their role and making long-term change.
Did he say high off the juice?
That is such. Now I'm gonna finish my statement since you interrupted me. That is such a, for lack of a better term, white answer to what you just said. That really is, brother. I think you've been in Kentucky maybe a little bit too long.
Called it.
Right, baby. I ain't leaving.
What do you mean by that?
Huh? No, because this is exactly the type of thing that white people put on black politicians. You have to be a certain way. You have to speak a certain way. You can't do these certain things. And this is why I say the color blindness is a joke, because what white people always demand of black people, whether it's in a workplace or a job, you cannot be fully who you are. You cannot fully say what you really believe or what you mean, because if it rubs white folks the wrong way, they will disqualify you. And what Terrace is suggesting is you got to fall into that if you want to be able to do anything. Well,
you got to play the game.
Terrace, let me finish, brother, please. What difference does it make if I got a position and I can't be effective because I'm not really representing my people anyway, because I got to Uncle Tom it while I'm in there? I got to be Tim Scott. I got to be these other jokers who can't come in and say what the real is, because white folks ain't going to vote for me again if I go out, because they're going to redraw my district to get me out. This is why color blindness is a joke, because if you don't assimilate the white culture, you cannot get ahead. And that's a horrible
analogy. That's a horrible analogy that you could use. That Jasmine Crockett was handed a position, and all she had to do, she was handed a position and to become the Black Caucus, handed a position and being able to sign the bill that was being was signed by the black lady. Handed all this. All she had to do is play the role. But instead, she went after Governor Hot Wheels. She got high off the juice. I'm telling you, she went crazy. You tell me. Instead of her playing her role and to get re-elected again, she started going after people.
Why doesn't that work for Jasmine Crockett? But it works for Marjorie Taylor Greene. It works for Donald Trump. Why does it work? Why does it work for white candidates, but it can't work for black candidates? Answer that question, brother. Why are the same things that you mentioned about Jasmine Crockett? Why is Donald Trump impervious to that? Do you think Barack Obama could talk like Donald Trump could? Do you think he could carry himself? Hell, they were on that brother. He wore a tan suit, and they said he was unpresidential.
For the mantle that you are, the mantle that you receive is the mantle that, if black people vote for the Democratic Party, an overwhelming 197,000%, and we get no representation back, and then we get somebody in representation who's smart. Jasmine Crockett, I'm not taking away from anything of her education, of her ability to do the job that she was in. I'm saying that what she did is she went a completely different way. And I said that from the beginning when y'all were over there like, oh yeah, we love Jasmine Crockett and everything she's doing, standing up to the man. I said they're going to get rid of her. They're going to get rid, and who got rid of her? The Democratic Party got rid of her on their own. Because if they really would have stood up for if the Democratic Party would have really stood up for what she was doing and all her antics, they would have let the white dude. She would have beat the James Calorico dude. But instead, they said that Jasmine Crockett is not a representation what we want in Congress or as a representative. And she didn't get elected to the oversight committee, which was number one. Get out. Come on, man. You guys need to get better representation on the Democratic Party if y'all are going to be criticizing.
Tell Paris what happened to Jasmine Crockett. Who wants to tell him? Because clearly he don't know.
She started talking about Governor Hot Wheels, and they gerrymandered her out of her district. They could have kept her. They could have kept her.
Who gerrymandered her? Which party? Your party.
Exactly.
So Democrats didn't run away.
I'm not saying that they didn't do it. I'm not sitting here naive to the fact that they didn't gerrymander. I'm not saying that I am naive to the fact that they did not use that to their advantage.
She was such a thorn in the side of your party.
Ineffective thorn. She's an ineffective thorn. She's like when you go in to buy a rose and you get stuck. You're like, ow, I ain't gonna do that again.
If she wasn't effective, then why did they gerrymandered her district out?
Well, I got
Because she talked about officer, because she was talking about Hot Wheels. She started going on the attack and started getting and being unpolitician,
Like she was uppity.
unpolitical.
She got uppity, didn't she?
Is it on the record that she ran for Senate because they gerrymandered?
That's just their assumptions. That's their assumptions. That's their assumptions.
Did she come out and say like, "Hey, I'm running for senator because they gerrymandered my district," or was she already going to run for senator because it was a soft race?
I didn't hear it, but
because her district is still being represented by a preacher, by a black guy, right, like, or he's going to run for that, right? So we'll see if he loses that. So it wasn't that she was going to lose her district, but she chose to run for a senator position and lost that.
She got the big head.
She couldn't say Gaza was a genocide. It was real simple. And so everybody who loses is because they don't have the proper morals. And we're not sending the proper people to actually run and represent us. So then you want to go vote for people who can't fight for us at all, except for pictures. But so that's why she lost. She ran for Senate, which was a bigger role, and then she couldn't stand up for what the people really wanted.
She couldn't stand up for what the people really wanted.
She probably would have still won her district.
I'm not so sure about any of that.
I gotta go. I know
you're not sure, so you can't say anything that you're not sure.
I gotta head out. I appreciate you and you brothers.
Hey, thanks,
I
bro.
appreciate being on with you. And please, in honor of Friday, May 22nd, and the new Star Wars movie coming out, Mandalorian and Grogu, I implore you all, go to the movies, grab a lightsaber, go and explore a galaxy far, far away. I'll see y'all sometime in the future.
Hey, I got my ticket already for 9.
Really? Okay.
May the force be with me, brother. Not the police force, but the actual
police force
be with me.
See y'all later.
I got a bone to pick with you, Damon. Are you going to?
You guys hear me?
No.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I already know your question.
You already know where I'm going. I'm going straight. I got a bone to pick with you. Are you going to endorse Greg Landsman?
I got to jump off.
No.
Of course, you got to jump off.
All right. Hey, Phil, thanks so much, bro.
I'm a psychic. No.
Can I say something?
All right, Phil, thanks.
You don't have a bone to pick with me. The answer is no.
Okay, can I say something before I jump off?
Sure.
This is not related to what we've been talking about, but I just want to say this has been on my heart, okay, that those who think, and Nathan, you kind of referred to this a little bit early on, those who think that this whole MAGA thing or Trump thing is going to go away either after the midterms or after the next, you're wrong, okay? I'm just telling you, you're wrong. If you look at what is happening now in this country, and people just seem to be unaware of it, or they go along with it. You have Trump now just, create a $7 billion fund to basically give money to the criminals who attacked the Capitol and all of his pals. They're prosecuting prosecuting his enemies, people he doesn't like. They're blacklisting law firms. He's knocking down, even knocking down half the White House, which is, at least to me, is figurative of what's happening, what's going on here. They're doing everything they can to rig the midterms. This gerrymander, we are losing our democracy. Okay, we are losing it. It's not just going to suddenly go back after 2028. I don't know if Trump's going to stay in office or one of his pals or one of his sons will, but we are losing our democracy, and everyone needs to just be aware of it. That's all I can say, and protect your. Nathan kind of said this earlier. Protect yourself, protect your families, because we're not going to be the same country we've always been. So anyway, I appreciate
Absolutely.
you guys having me today. Sorry I had action.
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you so much. Yeah. But Damon, are you going
not
to
acceptable out there in Indian Hill? They got that. They have better internet connectivity.
Better everything.
He must not have paid his HOA fee. That's what it is.
They put a squeeze on his internet connection.
So yeah, but Damon, are you going to endorse Greg Landsman?
What does that mean? Say like, hey guys, vote for Greg.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
No, I can't. I lost by like 10,000 votes, which tells me if Kevin Aldridge would have gave me my debate, we win. Which tells me if y'all wasn't on here every two days during the week saying he can't win.
We didn't say that.
Nobody ever said that.
We never said that.
Nobody
We
ever
never said that. We never said that.
Nobody ever said that.
Who said you were bad for democracy, Damon? Who said you was bad for on this panel? Who said you were bad for democracy?
It's bad. It's bad for the Democrats because we can't be pulling the Democrats down. And I'm like,
Phil made that point.
You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that in the primary, especially when you stick your neck out there like that. I think you did a fine job, but as your first time ever running. But you got to remember, this is your first time ever running, and people are going to be watching how you lose. My first time ever running, I got beat by, let's say, 3%. And people, it told me after that first time I got beat, because it could change your trajectory at city council, they're going to watch how you lose. And if you're going to blame everybody and play the blame game and say, instead of just taking it on the chin and saying, I ran a damn good race, it was my first race, and take it on the chin and start garnering support from your Democratic Party instead of saying, boop, 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 boop. You might not want to serve Greg Landsman. But play the game, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Play the game.
I hear you. And the same thing that Kevin told you, we're not going to curse. Blame, brother.
Okay, well, you ain't going to win.
Play the game. Donald Trump say whatever he want to say. All them people that's named, and they doing what they going to do. Now you want me to play is to be like, oh, yeah, just, vote for the Democrat that's going to send us to war. Vote for the Democrat that just sent over our surveillance right in the fires last week. Vote for the Democrat that took $2 million from AIPAC. Well, why is AIPAC so bad? Well, dang, Donald Trump spent $30 million to beat Thomas Massey, his own man, right? They spending $30 million to beat his own man because AIPAC. So that's why it's so bad. But for some, when I came on here, you like, it's my first time. It's probably going to be my only time, right? I'm not in this to be a politician. I'm in this because the system is bad, guys. The system was so bad, and I saw it. For some reason, I was the only person who saw it. And then when I came to my elders, when I came to my people, my influencers, I said, help. They said, nah, we can't help you.
That's not true.
We can't help you because we don't want to disrupt democracy.
That ain't true.
So, okay, I'm looking for this fight.
I emailed Nathan Ivey. It's true. It's in there. We talked about it. He said, I don't do that. But then he came on the show every week and said, he has no shot. All the comments, he has a shot. He has no shot. I had a shot.
You making that up?
No, that's what you mean?
You just made that. I never said you had no shot. Maybe I did. I don't remember saying that.
I don't remember that.
I had a shot?
I don't remember ever saying anything about it. In fact, what I remember is trying to stay away from prognosticating about it at all. What I said, and I still feel the same way, is, and I wondered out loud, like, so what are you gonna do? I said on this show, it'll say a lot about you what you do if you lose. Because if you didn't run to try to represent the people, then why did you run? Why'd you run?
What does that mean? When did I say I wasn't representing the people?
So you ran because you wanted to represent the people. You wanted to do, you had the best interest of the people in mind. That's what you're saying? Okay. Easy. So you lost. So you lost, right? So what's, in your opinion, who would be better in that position for the people? Greg Landsman, or I think his name is Condon or Condon, something like that. Conroy. I'm sorry. The Republican.
Both those people are going to bring the police $1 million.
So who would be better in your opinion?
It's 2 years.
It's going to bring the police $1 million check. Both those people going to vote to send our rights away. Both those people going to vote for war.
No.
Both those people.
That's just not true.
You got to go look at Greg Landsman's record.
I took a look at his record. I took a look at his record, and I also watched Phil Pimel's podcast when he talked to Conroy. And Conroy is 100% Trump all the time. That is not Greg Landsman.
It
is not Greg Landsman, sir. It is not Greg Landsman. You did not look at his record if you're saying that is not true.
No. You're not. So you got to watch.
Okay, okay, I want to hear you.
Democratic Party, every vote, they just send a couple new people from over there just to get it through. It's all working together. It's all AIPAC. 94% of them take the money. 94% are together. You want to play games. You want to play Republican versus Democrat. It's not money. It's money. And whoever takes the money, They on the same side. They all took the money from Israel. They
So
all took it.
you got to beat by 10,000 votes. You don't think in 2 years you could get 10,000 votes to unseat him? Is these elections, these legislative seats right here, or Congress seats, are every 2 years? You don't think that the momentum that you had, that you could go 2 years and beat him and get 10,000 more votes? That right there would say a whole lot more about your movement.
Had phone through.
That would say a whole. I'll reiterate. You don't think you could get 10,000 votes in 2 years? Why would you say I'm not going to run again? Why would you say, okay, I appreciate all the hard work and all these 17,000 people who came and voted for me the first time I ever ran for an election? I appreciate you guys and everything and believe in me. But I'm gonna dig in harder, and I'm gonna come and I'm gonna win this next time and start campaigning right now. Right. That's my question.
Pamela is 100% right. You're trying to say that Greg Landsman is another Fetterman, and that ain't true. Like, anybody who would say that Greg Landsman, and I hate to be in a position of trying to come across like I'm trying to defend Landsman or anybody else. I'm defending what's real. And what is real is that Greg Landsman is not Conroy. They are not the same in any way, shape, or form. And to suggest that they are is disingenuous, if not a straight up lie. And so that's why I asked you that.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if Damon's still here. I think we might have lost him. I don't see his
he's on another. Hold on, I think he's backstage. Hold on, there he is.
My bad.
Yeah.
I got to do this on my laptop next time because the phone calls come through and disrupt it.
Yeah, it's all good. So
let me say this, Nathan. I'm not surprised at Damon's answer. In fact, I think when we did our impromptu post-election live, you asked me if I thought Damon was going to endorse Greg Landsman, and I said no. And I think he pretty much said what I said. He stands on what he said during the campaign. I mean, I said it, Damon, just so you know, in case you didn't watch it, I said, you know, you don't come out and call a man genocide, Greg. You don't say all of the things that you then said and turn around and say, okay, tell the people to vote for him, because then that makes everything that you said during the campaign disingenuous. And I'm left as a voter wondering, like, well, did he really mean everything that he said, or is that just part of the game? So I think in what I know of you and what I've observed of you during the campaign, I'm not surprised that you would say that you wouldn't put your stamp on him. I think obviously people who are political, particularly if they're Democrats, are not going to agree with you, and from the standpoint that Conroy and Landsman are the same thing as it pertains to policy. You know, maybe it might be as in terms of the money and some of the things that you're talking about. And I think everybody knows where Landsman stands on Israel. He's made no secret about that. And maybe he's aligned with Conroy there. And I think, on a lot of issues, law enforcement, you get a lot of Democrats who are going to, toe the line with the law enforcement narrative because they want that support. Landsman's not the only one. But I think when you get into, some of the deeper, more social issues, I think there are differences between Landsman and Conroy. To you, that might not make a difference. Those issues might not mean as much to you as the overall view that you have on it. So I'm not surprised that you're saying what you're saying. And in many ways, I actually don't have a problem with you saying that, because it lets me know that you meant what you said on the campaign trail and you weren't just blowing smoke.
Well, let's say in 2027, next year, we get a Democratic majority, right? Does that mean we get Medicare for all? Because Greg Landsman didn't call for Medicare for all. He called for whatever, like it's levels. So if we get the Democratic majority, right now we don't have we're in the minority. So that's their favorite excuse. That's all the Ohio Democrats' favorite excuse. Like, we can't do anything. We're in the minority. And so right now we're in the minority. We say we can't do anything. Yet, as many Democrats as they need every time to vote for something stupid like surveillance, which they did last month, they come over and vote. Greg Landsman comes over and joins the Republicans to make sure we now have a surveillance state for the next 2 years. So when I say that they're the same, I mean, whatever they need done, the Democrats and the Republicans are going to find the people to get it done. This is a white supremacy nation, right? They're going to get the things done that needed to be done. what is Greg Landsman going to vote
That's
for?
googly glock.
You know his favorite thing to say? We need the John Henry Lewis Voting Rights Act. How, Greg? you gonna go down there and take pictures with them people? Greg Landsman can never step foot in a mosque ever again in his life. That's who you voted for. Somebody who can never step foot in a mosque ever again in his life. That's who's representing you.
They have websites that score all the congresspersons, and they score them for industries that they vote for, vote against, but they also score them against the current administration, like the current president is Trump. So they score them in terms of percentage of what percentage of the time do they vote this way or that way. And on one particular site, I don't know how credible it is. I'll just throw it out for the sake of conversation. You might say it's not. But on one site, it said that Greg Landsman votes with Donald Trump 13% of the time. Now, I watched Phil's podcast, and Conroy, who was a Republican guy who Trump has endorsed, from where he's talking, he gonna vote with Trump 100% of the time. Do you think that Trump's policies and Trump's direction is good for people in Ohio?
Of the 88% that he didn't vote with Trump, right? Because you said 13, all those things didn't matter. You're not hearing me.
You didn't answer my question.
Like, sometimes you can vote no, right? But it doesn't matter because it'll still pass because you're in a minority. It's the 13% where he voted yes that they needed his vote to make it pass. That's the problem.
But you didn't answer my question, though.
My
question was, do you
100% of the time? Yes.
Do you think that Trump's, I mean, if you do, you do, but do you think that Trump's policy directives, and his direction is good for Ohioans in the 1st congressional district?
Oh, Trump's the worst.
Okay.
Trump is the worst.
Okay, so Trump's the worst. So you got one guy who, let's just add a little to it. You got one guy that votes with Trump 13%, 15%, 20% of the time. You got another guy that's going to vote for him 100% of the time. And you yourself just said that Trump's the worst. It's just simple common sense, bro. So
no, it's not, because the 13% equals the 100%. Don't you get that?
There is no 100% in everything.
The 13%
there is no 100%.
Make sure that we went to war. When he's needed, he'll go. When white supremacy needs him, he'll cross the line.
But didn't Greg Landsman, they've had similar votes to curtail Trump's ability to do what he did. And hasn't Greg Landsman voted against that?
Because Greg was on the line, they sent other Democrats. They got 94% of all of them. They can pick and choose.
All I'm saying is, by your own admission, you said this: Trump's policies are the worst. You got one guy that stands in opposition the vast majority of time. You got another guy that's going to support 100% of the time, and you won't endorse. Is this about ego, or is this about what's best for the people?
No, it's about my gas is $5. Is your gas $5 where you live?
Yeah.
Right. That's what it's about. And we didn't get here because of Eric Conroy. So is it about ego for you? Because my gas being $5 isn't because of Eric Conroy. Who's it because of?
No, it's about who I think is better for the people in the 1st congressional district. I'm trying to figure out where you're coming from.
No,
I said, to me, it's about what is best in terms of policy for the people in the 1st congressional district.
Right.
You can't say you care about the people and you don't endorse Greg Landsman. You can't say that.
And say you won't run again. And say you're not going to run again. You're not going to endorse that. You got to run again.
You care about the people. You can't say that Trump is the worst, and then you're not going to endorse Greg. You can't do it.
Greg. Go
you
vote.
don't have to endorse Greg.
Counterintuitive.
Greg endorses a genocide. Can you endorse the slave master? Right. So you're all over there fighting for the slave. Like, the pillows nice in this plantation. We don't want the hard pillows. You still a slave. You can't.
So what you're saying is
genocide, Nathan.
So what you're saying is it doesn't matter who represents the people in the 1st congressional district, because they're gonna do what they want to do anyway.
It doesn't matter who represents the people if they all take the money. Yes.
I know what he's saying.
Yes.
If they take AIPAC money, no matter if they're on the Republican side or the Democratic side, they're bought and paid for. There's just as many, like Greg Lands on the
States
Democratic
coming,
side.
IDF going to take over Cincinnati
So did
police,
JD
the
Vance.
whole
JD Vance
thing.
took AIPAC money. They're both. I get it.
So
I
it's
get
not
it.
about the people. It's about your philosophy in your head. It's not about the people.
No, you're not listening.
Wait a minute, Nathan. Here, let me hear what. Let me think. Let me try to digest a little bit what I think I hear Damon saying, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. Is essentially what he's saying is the 87% of the time that Greg Landsman doesn't vote with Trump, those are easy votes. Those are votes that anybody would make, that anybody would make, any Democrat would make. It's not a big deal. But the 13% of the time where he does vote with Trump are on significant issues that matter.
That sounds like nonsense.
I'm just saying this is
nonsense. But I don't want to play games with it. That's nonsense. That don't make no sense whatsoever.
It does make sense. It does make sense. It does make sense to the standpoint of where you say, is this a guy can I trust to be on the right side of tough votes? Like that's the question.
It makes no sense when you say that. He just said it, Kevin. He just said that Trump is the worst and that Trump policies are bad for the 1st congressional district. So you can't say that and then be playing semantical games about the 80%. Either you're gonna go with a pro-Trump guy or you're not. Period.
Yeah, but I think
Nathan,
I think yes, that's a very simplistic black and white way of looking at it. But I think Damon is trying to add a little more nuance in here to say, even if Democrats get into power, if it's a tough, controversial vote, that maybe it's a close vote between the Democrats and the Republicans, even if the Democrats have a slight edge, can you trust Greg to be on that Democratic side in a close, tight, tough issue vote? That's the question he's saying. And so he's saying on those issues that really matter where it's tight, can you count on? He's not talking about the easy votes where anybody can get it, where like even if the Democrats
what easy votes are you talking about?
Edge,
like voting against the budget.
You can't manufacture this the way you want to be to make your argument. What easy votes are you talking about?
The budget. All the Democrats voted against the budget. Cool.
What easy votes you talking about? Like tell me
like resolutions acknowledging Veterans Day, the same stuff they do on city council.
No, it's not even that.
Some of these nothing burger pieces of legislation that they passed that everybody kind of votes on. I think that's what he's talking about. I'm not saying I agree with him, Nathan. I'm just saying if you're looking at it from his well, first of all, let me say this: Greg Landsman don't need Damon's endorsement. Let me just say that off the rip. Greg doesn't need Damon's endorsement to win the district if he's going to win. I'm just going to say that flat out.
Hurt.
He doesn't need that.
It couldn't hurt.
And
like in a tough race. How do you know that? How can you say that with any certainty? In a close race, you don't know. There might be 10,000 people that voted for Damon who said, you know what, I'm not voting for Greg no matter what.
I think that's more likely. I think that's pretty likely that there will be a percentage of people who voted for Damon who are not going to vote for Greg Landsman,
right?
Regardless of what Damon says. Because if they voted for Damon and his platform, then obviously they believed in him and what he was talking about and not what Landsman was talking about. And so, I think
like Rilo just said, you either pro-Trump or you not pro-Trump. It's really black and white. You either think that Trump's policies, because this is Trump's administration, you either are in favor for his policies or you're not.
So
it's black
Greg
and white.
Landsman is in favor of his policies.
How could he be? How could he be when he only votes with him 13% of the time?
Y'all sound like Donald Trump and Thomas Massey. Y'all sound like Thomas Massey and Donald Trump. Donald Trump has got Thomas Massey primaried because he don't vote for him 9% of the time. That's what you guys sound like in the Democratic Party. There's no difference. This Greg Landsman argument that you guys are having is no different than Donald Trump primarying and spending $30 million against Thomas
no
Massey.
different.
Thomas
But I'm
Massey
Thomas Massey.
votes for Donald Trump 90% of the time, but he doesn't vote for him 4%, not 9% of the time. So Donald Trump's going to primary him. Same thing.
So here's a great example I'm talking about. There are two major issues in which Thomas Massey fell out with Donald Trump, right? One was the Epstein files. What did Greg Landsman do in the Epstein files?
Nothing.
In the big, beautiful bill.
Which way did he vote for it?
It's all his friends over in Israel. What's he done?
Did Greg Landsman vote to release the Epstein files?
It was unanimous, cuz.
It was not unanimous. It was not unanimous. There was one lone dissenting Republican.
Okay, well, listen,
I would say I would put that in the category. I would put that, in fairness to Damon, I would put that in the category of easy votes. That's an easy vote if you're a Democrat to vote for the release of the Epstein.
I'm just saying, but that's where they fell out. We don't know what Conroy might do. We don't know.
We do know what he's gonna do.
And what was the other thing? So it was
what?
It was the Epstein files, and what was the other thing that Massey did?
Big beautiful bill. Big beautiful bill. He's got a ticker. He's got a ticker on his shirt that I saw. It calculates the national debt that keeps calculating, and for them to keep every time they pass a spending bill, Massey's on it. Nope, he goes against. That's why I understand what Damon's saying. Greg Landsman will not stand against those type of votes. Thomas Massey does.
Did Greg Landsman vote for the big beautiful bill? Yes or no? Did Greg Landsman vote for the big beautiful bill?
Don't let terrorists confuse you, because it wasn't the big beautiful bill. It's AIPAC. Can you say AIPAC, Nathan? Matter of fact, Nathan, can you say that?
No, you're trying to confuse us. No, you're trying to confuse us. So I'm trying to make this point. Did Greg Landsman vote for the big beautiful bill? Yes or no?
No, he didn't.
You don't know. You just ran against him. The answer is no.
He didn't. He didn't.
You just ran against the man. You don't know how he voted?
I do know how he voted.
Okay, so the man voted against the big beautiful bill.
Right.
What would Conroy do?
Some other
What would Conroy do? Would Conroy have voted for it? Again, it's hard to speculate, but from what I got from Phil's podcast, yes, he would have voted for it. That is a huge difference.
Did the big beautiful bill pass?
Yeah.
88% of his vote means nothing because he loses.
Okay.
13% of his vote. I bet he won every one of those.
The big beautiful bill is going to do more harm to this country than any legislation we've seen in a long time. Greg Landsman voted against it. Greg Landsman voted against it. Greg Landsman voted against it. You would have voted against it, but Greg's opponent would have voted for it. So don't tell me.
What about the war? What about the war? That's what Thomas Massey and Donald Trump.
I'm with you on that.
Thomas Massey didn't vote for the war.
Okay.
He crossed over with the Democrats.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing on that.
Crossed over with Eric Conroy.
Here's the thing on that. Here's the thing
real quick. Can I say something real quick, Kevin? I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
go ahead. Anybody listening, and to Kevin and to Damon, this is just big brother stuff. I'm not upset. I'm just having a conversation, and I'm trying to provoke the conversation because it's hot mic. I want to make sure people are clear. I'm not coming at you like that, but I'm like, I see an opportunity for a spicy conversation, and I just want to have a spicy conversation. So I want to make sure people understand where I'm coming from. But go right ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, no, here's what I was going to say. I agree with you 100%, Nathan, that Eric Conroy and Greg Landsman are not the same person. They're simply not. There's no way you could be a Democrat and think that somehow or another Eric Conroy getting into Congress over Greg Landsman is going to produce similar results. I do think there's a reasonable point that I will concede that Landsman has demonstrated enough that you do need to be wary and somewhat concerned about how he might vote on close, tough votes, right? Look, Greg is not one of these far left progressive Democrats. He's not. Greg is a moderate Democrat, right? So if you are a progressive Democrat, you're going to be disappointed more often than not with where Greg Landsman is going to come down on some of the closer issues. That's not who he is. So if you're looking for a far left, progressive, however you want to refer to people who are on that end of the Democratic spectrum, Greg Landsman is not that dude. Right. Greg Landsman is Jewish. All right. He has a particular affinity and loyalty that he has toward Israel. I mean, just as a black person, you would say this is where the hypocrisy comes in sometimes, because you would wholly expect that if black people had a nation similar to Israel that was our homeland, and you had an American politician where there was war around that country, you would be all over that black representative if he didn't support that African nation. And Damon, you would be at the front of the line arguing it. So
we should be all over it right now. It's war in all the African nations.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying you would be critical of a black representative in Congress that did not vote to defend those nations. We would crucify a black representative for not standing up for African nations and so forth if they had an opportunity to vote that way in
hypothetical. I wish those votes were up. Because we don't crucify Obama for blowing up Libya and making it an open air slave market. We don't do none of that. So that's a crazy hypothetical.
Progressive did.
Was taking care of the Jewish
people absolutely. Obama took hits for that. Huh? I said absolutely. Obama took hits for that.
Who?
Obama. He took from progressives. Obama was not a progressive either.
Right.
And so a lot of progressives and like liberals critique a lot of what Obama did and did not do. He didn't.
So it's being anti-war progressive?
In my opinion, it's not. I don't think you necessarily have to be a progressive to be anti-war.
We're talking about war. We're talking about the Democratic Party being the party of a war. Of sending billions of dollars to fund
Greg Landsman's. I talked about Greg Landsman's. My whole point on the war was Greg Landsman was not going to vote against Israel. That's what it was. Greg Landsman is going to vote in support of Israel. That's been his record. That's his background. That's what he does. That's why I brought up the point. That's why I brought up the hypothetical point about an African nation. He is a Jewish man that's going to vote with those interests.
So since he voted for those interests, that's not in the best interest of the Ohio 1st District.
And a lot of people in the 1st District have voiced that. But you know what? A lot of people in the 1st District who voiced that still voted for him.
But
because I can tell you, I got a lot of letters to the editor who of people of progressive Democrats against Greg Landsman's vote for the war. They crucified him. They talked about how it did not live up to democratic values of people in the 1st District.
Right.
But he still won, what was it, 14,000 votes or whatever, 10,000 votes, whatever it was he won in Hamilton County.
By more than that.
And I'm glad you held him accountable. Let me be clear. I'm glad you held Greg accountable. All politicians should be able to be accountable for what they voted for in office and what they stand on. Greg ain't immune to that. Anybody, Democrat, black, white, hey, it comes with territory.
So
that's the way you vote. Hey.
What's that do now? Now I just have to concede, like, okay, we'll just vote for.
No, you don't have to. I wanted to know, well, I mean, what do you think will be best for the people? If you think that Conroy will be best for the people, okay. But if you think that Greg would be better, because it's not about getting everything you want in a candidate. Let's get that right. There is no perfect candidate. In the system that we have, it takes money to win. And as long as money is in politics, the people who don't have the money are always going to have candidates that are compromised. That's just what it is. Obama wasn't perfect. There is no perfect candidate where you agree with them 100% of the time.
Right.
Because there's money involved.
And what was one of the primary reasons why I said that I didn't think Damon was going to win that race? Not because of his platform or his issues. I said it was because he didn't have the money.
The money.
And that's the reality, is that money is a big part of politics. And so if you're not going to take money from AIPAC and these other political organizations, then you better have a daggone good fundraising ground game, doing like Obama and some of the others have done, getting $5 and $10 from people, from 1 million people here and there, so that adds up. I mean, you can nickel and dime it. Politicians have. They have done it that way. But you got to have the infrastructure. You got to have the organization and everything to do that. And again, I said it, hats off to Damon on the race that he won. I thought it was impressive, the number of votes that he was able to get for a first-time candidate. And, you know, if I were, I mean, I'm not a political advisor or anything, but, you know, he said on here today, I'm not going to run again. Like, I would never say that. I would never say that if I were him, because if he decides one day down the line that he does want to run again, or he gets a groundswell of people who are pushing him to run again, now you got to answer that question. Well, bro, I thought you said you wasn't a politician and you wasn't going to do. So I get that there's a certain amount of authenticity and whatnot that Damon projects. But if this is a field that you're going to play on, this is the part of the game that he's going to have to get more astute at as somebody who's going to potentially run, who's going to potentially run for office. You don't have to lose all of your authenticity, but you do got to get you a little polish to yourself. And that's what I think he's perfectly capable of doing that. You know, he certainly has the pedigree from where he comes from, to be able to do that. And so, like I said, I wish the brother nothing but luck.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to make sure everybody's clear that I'm not trying to force you or press you to endorse Greg Landsman. No, do you. I just saw an opportunity for a little bit of spice, and I just couldn't resist since we had you on. So that's all. I just wanted to have a spicy conversation. That's it. And maybe we can get Greg and Conroy on. Maybe we can do our own little mini debate. I don't know if they would agree with that, because I would love to, rather than just say, well, I watched Phil's show. I like to talk to Eric Conroy. I like to talk to him myself, ask him my own questions and get a sense of where he really stands. Oh, okay. He says his phone died. Yeah, absolutely, bro. None but love, man. And get a sense where Conroy actually stands rather than me just conjuring up and thinking about. And the same thing with Greg, rather than me talking about whether it's 13%, let him have him come on and press him with some hard questions he can articulate for himself. But I saw an opportunity for a juicy conversation. I'm like, yeah, we got Damon on here. Let's just go for it and see what happens. So I appreciate it. You're right. There are no rules. Oh, absolutely. I get it now. All fair in love, war on politics. I get it. All fair. So, and then there were two, just you and me now, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to hold. I know you're very busy. I appreciate everybody. Season 3 is back in full effect. We're planning to be back on Friday at 1:15 p.m. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, great week, and we'll catch up with you real soon. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for